Pacific.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday, the 29th of July, 2017. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Specific.
And Robert Kemp.
It's an absence of Mexican, Rob. He's not going to be in this cut of the podcast.
You built a wall in front of that bit of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a beautiful wall. That's a Trump wall.
Made of bulletproof glass, apparently.
Or at least soundproof.
Yes, in this case.
All those mariachi bands,
Yeah.
keep them out.
As long as you can't hear the Mexicans, then it's fine. or it's not the Mexicans, it's Mexican Rob.
Hey, gringo.
Okay,
I've come to start your podcast.
go back to this, are we?
Oh no, he broke through.
Hey guys.
That wall didn't work, Zach.
The immigration ban is nothing to me.
I feel like in reality, Mexican Rob was like, that's. I don't know why we chose Mexico. Like, surely for us, it should be like French Rob. Like, you're not that far away.
No, the imprint of Mexico is felt globally.
That was one of the
Stupid accents that Rob did, which caused us to call it Mexican Rob.
The Mexican
That's what
Rob.
actually happened.
That's when I used to walk away from the mic to turn off. Well, I still do, but just walk away from the mic to turn off the podcast, and therefore I'm far away.
Just making Mexican accents.
Yeah, I really don't know quite how it came to that.
No, nobody does.
Hey, gringo.
Anyway,
This podcast is Stella. Stella sounded cool in Mexico.
did it?
Stella. No, it did not. What's like a cool Mexican word for good?
Me gusta, isn't it? That's like Spanish, though, isn't
Exactly.
it? I think you have to say it with a Mexican accent to make it Mexican.
Can you say like bueno or something like that? Or is that Mexican enough? Like, decent, yeah.
Well,
Podcasting.
I work with
Wait,
like
no.
these two Spanish guys, and people, ignorant, normal people, are always saying Mexican things to them, and they're like, no, and try to demonstrate. Okay, this is in a Spanish accent, and this is, and then they do a really bad Mexican accent as well, which is really funny. Even though they know the language, they still have bad Mexican accents.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I quite like to hear other languages attempt. The people who have other languages their favourite attempt, the British accent or other foreign languages, because it's obviously our impressions of foreign languages are slightly tainted by our Britishness. So
Slightly, totally, probably.
Yeah, so like hearing other nations attempt to do language impressions of other nations could be pretty funny. It's like when Americans try and do British, right? And it's always the almost the least common forms of Britishness, like Cockney. There aren't actually that many Cockneys, right?
No, Cockney is kind of pretty much died out. There's not many people speaking Cockney. I realise now there's a name for the kind of English that's you get in London, and it's called Multicultural London English, MLE.
No.
Yeah, that's what's
Official.
replacing Cockney. Yeah, it's official. Yeah, but I definitely have friends who speak a bit of the old MLE blood.
Oh, gay.
I don't know about geese. I don't know where that comes from or why we use it.
Keys, because it's short for geezer. That sounds like something Ray Winston would say. What keys?
I guess it is. He's a bit Cockney, isn't he? He's definitely not multicultural London English. Basically,
have a bang on it.
That chicken connoisseur guy is basically the MLE English.
Right. So what? MLE is grime? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, grime comes from East London,
I suppose.
so that makes sense. If that's how they speak there, then grime would be like that.
Mandem got bare language.
Exactly.
Although I'm pretty sure I need another word for language to make that work.
Oh my days.
Oh my days. Oh my days! Your spitting is Spiffington.
Spiffington.
Spiffington. That was a chicken connoisseur thing on just one episode. It's like Piffington.
What was it when it was related to the shoes?
Meshington.
Yeah, Meshington, that was it.
Meshington. When he's like, crap check. Meshington.
Yeah. Meshington. For that sweet mess. Although he sold out.
Yeah, he did.
You see him sell out.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never got a giant, weird, wet coffee patch on my stomach.
Good job.
How'd that go?
What? Why?
I don't think I have spilt because it's not warm. Like it's
You
just,
just spilled something, not necessarily coffee.
yeah, just some weird residual wetness from the bottom of my cup, maybe. But yeah, there you go. Live patches on my stomach.
Oh, dear.
Stomach patch. There you go. I'm damp.
The kitchen bitching is leaving the kitchen.
Yeah, apparently. It's chasing me. Cold water tap just spraying all from there. Yeah, I'm having some coffee. I've not been sleeping.
Really?
I've been sleeping real bad. Well,
Why are you drinking coffee then? That's not going to help.
well, because
To wake you up for this, right? Well, it's not going to help you later on. I mean,
Oh no, it most definitely won't. But this is only coffee number 2 of the day, so I should be okay.
okay.
Mostly
I haven't
okay.
had any today, which is unusual. Oh no, hold on, that's a lie. I definitely did have one.
Of course you did.
Yeah,
You addict.
yeah, fair. Okay, that's fair. It's just that I thought earlier on, before we came on the podcast, I thought I'd get a coffee, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to, and therefore I assumed that I'd managed to resist coffee all day, when in fact I'd forgotten that I had one with breakfast.
Yeah, it's the best time for coffee. For breakfast.
Yeah, although I don't know. I think like around 10 a.m. is actually the best time. Like after, not when you immediately wake up, but after you've got to work and done a bit of work and
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
check
yeah.
your
I
emails
guess
and stuff.
I guess it's a bit weird because in my case, when I start work, I'm also eating breakfast and having a coffee.
Right, you do it all together
Yeah.
after you've. But you don't. It's not like you get up, have a coffee, and then take Gnome to the station or whatever. You do it later on in the morning.
Yeah. That all
think-
happens first, and then when I'm sat at my desk, that's when I have breakfast and a coffee.
Yeah. What do you eat for breakfast, man?
A variety of cereals. Not all at the same time, admittedly. I don't
standard
like cereal tapas.
Be a better plan.
Did I tell you guys that I tried to eat cereal again? Because I never liked cereal. Don't know
Wait,
if you
what?
remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I never liked cereal. And I think it was the milk.
What is it? The milk. Oh, okay, I was about to say, what is it about the cereal? Is it the cereal itself, or just the fact that it requires a milk component?
Yeah, because you can alter the amount of milk, so you can have a less soggy cereal. And I tried. What I did was recently, I thought, is that just a childhood thing? Where now, if I tried it, I'd like it because it's probably good to like eat breakfast more. And not that that's the only option, but it's a good option for breakfast. So I got like some fancy cereal, which looked really nice, one of those Dorset ones, and some nice.
So like sort of muesli / crunch breakfast.
Yeah, but with nice berries and stuff in, they look pretty nice. And I got milk and everything, and I tried it, and I tried with only a little amount of milk at first, just to see, although you need a certain amount, you can't just eat dry cereal, really. So there's well, you can, but anyway.
Doable.
Anyway, the result was I didn't like it, so now I have a big box of cereal to throw away.
All right. Well, okay. Other things to try. Like there's various different types. Well, yeah, that's.
I'm gonna get fat that way.
That's a pretty good option. It's a pretty tasty option.
A single cream that would work.
Or you could try different forms of milk. Like we'll just get some full fat in there.
Oh, I tried that actually. I think I did get full fat.
Because that's delicious. Or maybe you just want it a bit damp. In which case, maybe you want the full skimmed milk, which is horrific. But
I don't.
I think it's horrible. But maybe that's your solution. It's the least milky milk.
You can convert your cereal into porridge by just cooking it.
Yeah, but that's too much effort. That's the thing.
What about yogurt?
Breakfast.
It's not really effort.
I don't really like yogurt either. All of this dairy stuff. That's a holdover from childhood. I think I didn't really like yogurt when I was a kid either.
Well, what about not the sort of like Muller yogurt? The sweet yogurt. What about that sort of not sweet Greek yogurt stuff?
Yeah. Maybe I should. That's another thing I should try and then fail to like again after
It's like
10
sour
years.
yogurt.
Yeah.
I like a big. The problem I have like with yogurt is there's never enough of it. Like if it like in the sense if you get those big sort of like you get those like almost pint glasses of yogurt now,
Yeah.
and it's like, but it's not. I'll just have the whole lot. It's like,
Jesus.
yeah, it's a bit
Far
like
too much.
it's a bit like ice cream. Can't stop.
Well, I mean, in some ways, there's a psychological thing where it's just like, yeah, you could stop and put the lid back on, put it back in the fridge. It'll probably be fine for some period of time.
Yeah.
But or will it?
But well, that's not.
You
That's not the thought.
expose the yogurt to the atmosphere.
That's definitely not the thought process with me. It's just still delicious. I can carry on.
No, that's not what I meant though. It's delicious now, but will it be delicious in like 2 days, or will it have
Yeah.
gone skank?
True. I don't know I don't think the lifespan of yogurt is particularly
Particularly if
long.
you're eating it directly out of the pot, because then you're
Yeah.
like, there's backwash,
of course,
essentially.
True.
You're exposing the yogurt to your mouth indirectly.
Partially digesting it in the fridge.
I think if I could get it fresh every day and I didn't get too fat, which hasn't happened yet, as you may have noticed, I would probably get like pain au chocolat like every day for breakfast.
That is pretty good.
Yeah,
We do limit that to a treat because given the non-fattening. If it was
Actually,
that,
like
then
I
no
could
would have it every
do
day.
I could do croissants and butter and jam every day, or that would do me.
Yeah, no.
But the
do
thing
that
is,
too.
you need to get it fresh, and it's too much of a pain to. You can't really buy croissants for the week because they're not very nice by the end of the week.
No, I mean you can go a few days if you've got like a bakery nearby. Like
Yeah.
we could if we wanted to just go to Morrison's, pick up some croissants, and probably have like 2 days worth of croissants, and then have to go get some more. And
then
they're
have to
probably
go
still
get
good.
more.
Do you
Yeah.
think they'd freeze at all? Because
That's-
bread freezes well.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. Maybe, but then would they defrost well? Is the problem, or would they go soggy somehow?
Well, you'd think that bread wouldn't work as well as it does.
I guess it's because it's sealed. Like
Yeah,
when you-
well, I guess.
yeah. But
I
then
did
if
get,
you've got
like,
fresh croissants, they'd have been exposed to the air and
Maybe.
moisture.
Yeah. I did. I mean, when I was in Cambridge, I used to be able to get from the co-op these like pain au chocolat small ones that were individually wrapped in plastic, and you could get a pack of them. That was pretty good. That worked.
Oh, you can
okay.
get those.
But
You can still get those from the supermarket. They're sort of like
Yeah.
not really a proper
No,
pain au chocolat.
they're not
sort
that
of
great.
thing.
Yeah, you have to eat 2 though. That's the problem. Yeah, I've never been very good at breakfast, but I get insanely hungry by like 12, noon. If I haven't eaten.
Bacon. Just go all in.
That's way too
Nah,
much
that's
effort.
not
Bacon.
going to work. That's too much effort. And also, I
What about
don't
eggs?
understand the
Also too
whole.
much effort.
Yeah,
Anything that requires actual cooking.
I have
Okay.
egg cups from a time when I thought this
Twinkies.
breakfast situation is ridiculous. I need to sort this out. And of course, that experiment didn't work either. Boil eggs and then eat them
I
with
mean,
soldiers.
boiled eggs
or
are at
whatever.
least theoretically easy to cook.
Yeah.
You just put them
That's
in there
true.
and then leave it for like
Yeah,
a
that's
couple of
easy.
minutes.
Yeah,
Well, so's a fried egg, really, and it's actually a fried egg isn't
Yeah, but
actually
then,
that bad for you.
then you've also
You have
got
to clean up,
Whereas
yeah.
with boiled eggs, you just pour out the water and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but a fried egg doesn't really leave much residue.
I
It's
mean,
like, that's-
you're still having to clean the pan.
that's not that good for you, to be
Sure.
fair. Is it fried eggs every day?
fried eggs don't actually absorb any of the oil they get cooked in, so they're actually pretty good.
Are they all right? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I'm not 100% sure that they don't avoid absorb. It's like you get those little bubbles like in the pockets.
Sure. I guess that's possible. They
Like the
could-
oil gets enclosed.
Yeah,
essentially.
I guess that's possible. But I'm basing this on I think it was a BBC Panorama thing where they were,
Naturally.
which I admit is lowest common denominator science.
Yep.
But they did say it's like actually, you know what, a fried egg isn't that bad as a breakfast option. There you go.
What do you eat, Zeg? At 2 p.m. or whenever you get. When do you get up?
About midday-ish.
Midday. Sorry.
White toast. That's it.
Yeah. Now
Breakfast
that
every
is
day.
my kind of breakfast. Yeah. Marmite toast and tea, or
Yeah.
what? Yeah. That's my kind of breakfast.
That's not too bad. Marmite toast, is it? That's not too terrible for you. I mean, it's bread, but
Well, yes, it's just bread. That's all that matters. I mean, occasionally, if we're out of Marmite or bread, I'll have Weetabix. That's my backup plan. I just always have Weetabix.
There's just a spare. There's just a spare mix. Yeah.
It's quite hard to run out of Marmite unless you're like not at all prepared, because you get quite a lot of warning of when it's going to run out.
Not really. Not if you use as much Marmite as I do.
Oh right, you like lather it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it pretty thick. Not that thick though. I don't know.
Like,
I don't understand people who scrape it and then it looks more like butter
yeah.
than Marmite. I don't never
Or
understood that.
what my sister used to do, where she basically spread a really thick layer of butter and then get the tiniest smidgen of Marmite and then
Yeah.
like stir it into the butter.
Yeah, it's horrid.
In fairness, I don't really like Marmite, so that rules this whole thing out. But then, just in general, like toast for breakfast for me is generally a bit heavy. I find that a little bit heavy. Like don't get me wrong,
How is it much worse than a huge pile of milk?
Yeah, I know, but it's weird. It's like, I guess because it's liquid, it doesn't feel heavy as you're consuming it. But like, because I do like jam and toast. Like jam and toast is my thing. But then whenever we get jam, we don't use all the jam before it goes moldy. It's like, because I'll have like one day it'd be like, this is great, and then the next day it's like, I don't really fancy bread for breakfast.
You get different bread. Maybe that's the trick.
Yeah, maybe.
You can find a type of bread that's less dense or whatever.
Rivita.
Yeah, Marmite Revivita is always good as well. If you want to not have quite so much denseness, and it's still Marmite, so you still get the Marmitey flavour.
Okie dokie.
Rob's stomach declares that this food talk should stop so we can get on with this podcast and then eat a pizza.
I am pretty goddamn hungry at this point. What do you have going back to where we started, what cereal is your preferred cereal if you have a cereal? Is it just the Weetabix?
Yeah, just the Weetabix.
Yeah, right. Not a Frosted Shreddies person.
Well,
just the king.
I can't have that much sugar any longer. Like, including that much sugar in breakfast when I already can't really eat that much sugar in any other time of the day is probably not a good idea for my teeth.
Oh, right, you're right. You're on a... Is it just teeth is your sugar thing?
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't stop me putting sugar on the Weetabix. Not as much as I used to. Whereas, like, I used to have like a solid layer of sugar on the top of Weetabix. That's how you do it.
Yeah, when and then you put the milk over it, and then you literally get that sort of.
Well, no, you moisten it first, and then pour sugar on it, so you make sure you can see the sugar. That's how you know there's enough, because then it has no dissolve.
Yeah, it's like you've created a sugar crush.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that.
And of course, obviously, free Weetabix. You can fucking eat two. I mean, come on.
Me, I was always a 2. 3 was too many.
Maybe they've got smaller over the years as well, but
like most
2
brands.
is not sufficient. The trouble with 3, though, is it doesn't really fit in the bowl. You have the third one, like, leaning up on the side.
I never really thought 2 fit in the bowl, in fairness.
It depends what kind of bowl you're using, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm a Frosted Shreddies guy. Although I don't get it very often because A, it's quite expensive, and B, it's probably pretty bad for you. But so it's either that or like forms of crunch breakfast, like not really muesli, but that weird crunch intermediary, whatever that is.
There definitely was a period where I just went like full just bran stuff.
Oh yeah, I go through phases of liking brown.
Yeah. Just like, here's some brown cornflakes.
Yeah.
They're almost cornflakes, but they're brown.
Do you know Anand? Do you know my friend Anand?
Yeah.
He mostly eats all brown, I think, when he gets home, like for dinner.
I mean,
actually,
I don't know if I should say this, but my main concern with brown things is the obvious.
Pooping.
Yeah.
I do that quite a lot anyways.
Yes, I think quite a lot of people do poop quite a lot of the time.
It's true.
I
don't know, but I think I do poop an inordinate amount. It's okay. Like almost more than I eat.
That's
Probably
impressive. You're not getting much out of this food if it's all just passing straight through.
It's the running coming out. Speaking of weird foodstuffs, how are you enjoying your iron brew?
It's fine. It could have been better if it was cold, but
yeah.
Where'd you get iron brew? Just in the supermarket?
I don't know. No one seems to have required it.
I'm pretty sure you could just buy it. It's like
I mean, you can. Yeah.
It mostly comes from Scotland, though, right?
I don't know about mostly. I think there's, it's one of those things where people are always like, you get it from Scotland and the real shit, and then, like, it's hard, it seems like a weird thing. You get, like, the classic Americans tasting weird foods. It's like, oh, this iron brew thing, it's Scottish. And it's like, well,
It
I
is.
could probably go to Tesco's and buy it quite easily. I
It's
don't
pretty
think it's that
Scottish,
difficult
though.
to find.
It's Scottish originate. It's the same way we can get. I guess a Scottish.
It's the same way you can
Scottish.
find pretty much anything in.
I mean, in Scotland, if you go and they don't have if they don't have Sprite or something, that's fine. But if they don't have Iron Brew, then you're like, what the fuck? It has to be like it's like
If they haven't battered that Mars bar.
Yeah. But it's like, it has to be as common as Coke, otherwise there's like an uproar in Scotland.
Maybe.
I have a distinct memory of me disliking this stuff, but that was like 10 or 20 years ago, and I haven't drunk it since.
Oh, you're going to do a live taste test?
It does smell funny.
Well, yes, it's quite a taste enriched beverage.
That's all right. I taste enriched.
Yes, it's got a lot of taste in it.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's all right. I
It's all right.
don't know what it's supposed to taste of.
No, I was trying to think of what it's like a sort of cream soda, but then more fruity.
Yeah. Doesn't really push the cream soda button.
Well, it's like without the cream.
Yeah.
It's got that weird flavour, but it's like the fruit version of cream soda.
Yeah. Get the bottle, see if we can figure out what fruit.
I bet it doesn't say.
No.
I bet it says flavourings.
I bet it says ground batter. I mean, what else do they have? It's got other than chips and Mars bars and iron brew. Is it actually made from just iron? They're just getting girders.
Yeah, that's what the advertising campaigns say.
Yeah, it's just brewed girders. It's rust.
I mean, it's
Why is that colour? It's rust.
It's got to be quite similar to Lucasade, right? I mean, it does have a sort of similar taste, sort of.
I guess you're not. Yeah, actually, that is pretty accurate. Regular Lucasade.
Without the energy, obviously.
Have you seen they do Lucasade? Lucasade. Lucasade no sugar now, and I'm like, I bet him he's like,
What?
so what's
What's the
it
point
do?
in that? Yeah.
Although I
It
think
still has the energy shit in it, just not the sugar.
but
But that is
sugar is energy.
Yeah, but that's not what the energy stuff in energy drinks is it? It's other bullshit that.
No, that's what
Glucose.
Lucasade was. Right?
Yeah.
That's what straight up Lucasade.
the original
is. Yeah,
version.
as opposed to what.
I mean,
don't
it's the
know,
same as any modern food stuff where they've taken out sugar, where it's just we've replaced it with stuff that sort of is like sugar but not really,
Yeah,
and it also causes your body to think it's sugar, so it still does things like make you release energy by burning fat.
in fairness, I did have one. There's one in the there's some in the fridge at the moment, like Lucasade pink grapefruit, no sugar, or something like that. And yeah, that has a pretty weird effect. It must be just filled up to the max with pure caffeine. Yeah, it's quite extreme. Find your flow. Just get caffeine, apparently.
Yeah.
Raw caffeine. And speaking of which, that's pretty much what I do at EGX, because they just hand that shit out at the door.
Well, yes.
Hey, gamers, you like taurine?
Mexican
Mexican monster drink. Would you like some Mexican caffeine? We mix it with drugs.
So, news?
Yeah, news.
Yeah, let's do it. News!
There's not much news.
Game!
Okay, what news we got? Well, I've got this thing about the PS Plus price increasing in the UK from £40 to £50 a year. There's just a little bit of small print that says the price is going to increase, and they send emails to everyone apparently, and it's like, well, if you don't do anything, then from next year you'll be charged the higher amount.
Well, I guess they're upfront at least about it. I guess they have to be. That it's like, hey, your renewal's going to go up, and that's probably. Did they say when this is kicking off?
Next year.
Next year. Okay, so they're way better than insurers. so that's something.
I guess so.
Yeah, so that's not time. That's not. But that does make that it's now more expensive than Xbox Live.
Right. Yeah. And you're not getting that much for it, really. It's not as good a service as Xbox Live, let's face it, is it? I mean, even now.
Well, the online play stuff. But I guess the PS Plus game offerings have been arguably better in the past, as opposed to the Games with Gold offerings. Like, I think there's generally more per month on PS Plus, but you've got the slight downside that will be spread across multiple platforms. Whereas the Xbox has the advantage of, hey, everything on Games with Gold will run on an Xbox One because of backwards compatibility. So, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. And also, there was a period in time where PlayStation were kind of making fun of Microsoft for doing all this, and now suddenly they're the most expensive service.
Yeah, it's true. Now that they're number one in the market,
it is weird. It's like because normally, at least because I think Xbox Live did go up in price in the 360 lifespan. I can't really remember why or what happened, but they've added stuff to that service, and it's like normally with a price hike, you what you want to say, yeah, but we're upping the price, but that's because we're giving you this stupid thing that nobody wants as well. And is there no sign of that? Is there no stupid thing that nobody wants that you're going to get with your PS Plus?
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
Like Amazon Music? I don't know. What else do you want to throw in with your Prime account? PlayStation Prime. You can now get free delivery of digital games. Oh, wait. I don't know. It's a bit of a bummer. Sony loves money. I guess they're in the position to exploit the fact they have market dominance. It sounds businessy.
Well, we shall see. But definitely not good.
So I think it's in a weird way. I know the Nintendo thing isn't like a great deal of money when it eventually launches. What, like 20 quid, isn't it, or something?
Right.
But the maybe this feels a little bit harsher after the sting of Nintendo getting in on it as well. So it's just like, oh wait, another thing. Maybe being multi-platform like I like to be is becoming.
It's not paying.
It's becoming a bad thing to be.
You still don't have a PS4, so it doesn't matter.
No, I've never had a PS Plus account, so But if I had a PlayStation product, it might be one of those things where it would make sense, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
I renewed my Xbox Live. I'm not quite sure why.
You did? All right. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure why I did, though.
Did you let it auto-renew, or did you actually re-up?
Well, yeah, I did the thing that most people do, or in theory, most people should do, which is find a cheap deal on a 12-month Xbox Live subscription card.
Oh, cool.
And just trade that in, because it's most of the time cheaper. Or if you're incredibly lucky and the timing's good, get that 30% off deal off Xbox Live, which it is awkward. Oh man, that was awkwardly timed, because when I decided, it's like, all right, I'll do this. It's like the previous day, my Xbox had been showing me, hey, you can get 30% off if you just opt to renew now. And it's like, all right, let me have a think about that. So I came back tomorrow, the following day, and it's like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. And I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean I can't do that? It's like, that was yesterday. And it's like, and I still want to renew, but you've taken the deal away. And that really put me back on the point of like, I'm not sure I want to do this.
Yeah.
Because you're mucking me about. And so I looked into it, and apparently that deal is actually quite random. Like, some people never see it.
Oh, so you're quite lucky to find it.
I was quite lucky to have even just seen it on my dashboard.
Oh, right.
And I've had access to it. But then, mysteriously, it was only there for like a day. And it's like, really? Well, I suppose they did it in some way, get more money out of me, but they might not have done because of, however much the profit margin is on selling cards to third-party resellers, but meh.
Other news. What else? Well, Rob, I've got a few things written down, but not that much.
No,
there's this thing about hoo-ha about GTA 6 being on some actor's portfolio or resume or whatever, which is is then he's turned around and said that's not true or something. But it probably is. It's probably just he was pressured to take it off or say that, probably. But who cares? Because everyone knows that there's going to be another Grand Theft Auto. All the only interesting thing is what the hell are they going to make or do? And we've got no information about that. So
no,
yeah.
In fairness, it was just mocap, wasn't it? This guy. So,
yeah.
It's
like, oh wow, they're making a Grand Theft Auto game. Surprise.
Well, yeah, there's that, but also it's kind of in whether they're making it or not. In a weird way, it might be in Rockstar's interest to just mocap some more stuff. Always be mocapping.
Yeah, I mean, they could be mocapping stuff for new cutscenes for heists in GTA Online anyway. So it's not even as if they're doing mocap work. It doesn't even mean they're working on a new game. But anyway, they definitely are. So
maybe the guy accidentally typed 6 instead of 5. They're right next to each other.
That is true.
Unless he did it in Roman numerals, which is slightly harder.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah. Or the actor actually is one of these people that's like, I'm not really into games. It's like it's got a number after it.
Yes, he read the Roman numerals wrong.
So I worked.
Although reading 5 wrong is kind of difficult in Roman numerals.
You can seem to work in Die Hard 8. It's that kind of.
Oh man, how many Die Hards did they make in the end? 5? 6?
I think
5.
5.
Yeah,
I think it's 5.
Okay. I don't think that last one counts. And I don't think 4 really counts, so there you go.
I mean, it's not a core Die Hard, but it's passable. 4 is still that goofy fun. 5 just looks terrible.
Yeah. 4 had Kevin Smith in it for some reason.
That's true, it did. And Seth Green? Was it Seth Green?
I can't remember.
Whoever the guy he just sort of tagged along for the ride.
What's he doing anyway? I guess he's doing Robot Chicken and stuff.
One presumes. Pitching Austin Powers. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, I need another Austin Powers film.
Oh man. I wonder if that will come back one day, just when you thought it was, for nostalgia's sake or whatever.
What do you reckon? What, Mike Myers will get desperate?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, what's he doing? Nothing.
Well, I mean, Shrek may have come to an end.
Well,
but may have, because that seems to keep coming back periodically.
I think you can pretty much say for literally anything that it's going to come back eventually at this point. Because literally everything is coming back.
That's true.
Really terribly.
Yep.
Like the Mummy.
Baywatch.
We got really worried at work the other day because someone in the office said they were remaking Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
No.
And it's not
Steven
true.
Spielberg is still making movies. I mean,
I know. It's not true, but we were like, no.
Yeah.
And it's like just because that film wouldn't work in the modern era.
It wouldn't work. No.
Yes, you could actually make that into a modern film. It would just have to be like a remake. You'd
have to do something so different.
I don't know. You'd have to do something that different.
Well, they'd make it about instead of lights, and there'd be some sort of learning to use mind powers.
It can still be lights. There's nothing wrong with the concept of aliens communicating through lights.
Yeah, there's also the slight problem that Arrival happened.
Well,
and that was that, but sort of, except without lights. And
it's all about the lights.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
And in fairness, Arrival was amazing. But yeah,
I liked Arrival. I need to see that again.
Yeah, properly good film.
My mum's got a new shower in her upstairs. It's leaked several times, but anyway, it's finally finished. But the inside of the shower, the wall, pretty much. My brother pointed it out first, but it looks like the inside of the Arrival spaceship.
Oh right,
like dark kind of stone,
ribbed stone. Yeah. That's cool. I can get behind that. Does it make? Is there something weird about a dark bathroom?
Well, it's not the whole bathroom; it's just the inside the shower cube. Yeah. But
no, because you hear people just doing their bathroom in black tiles, and it's
our bathroom was brown for a while.
It was built in the 70s.
Brown.
No. Well, there was also another. I I think it got repainted into blue and then immediately got repainted again because it was too dark. But the argument for that time, then this was an argument that I said was completely stupid, was that it made it too hot.
What?
The dark paint absorbed too much heat and it made it too hot in the bathroom. I was like, that's ridiculous.
Is it the sunniest room in the house?
You would notice also that this...
It is a hot bathroom, to be fair, but it's not affected by the paint.
That this time when this argument that the bathroom became too hot was shortly after we just had new central heating installed. I'm like, I think there might be another reason you think this room is too hot.
Correlation.
Because we've had
not-
this entirely new heating system put in our house.
Does not imply causation.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
didn't really like it painted that dark bluish colour that it was. The brown was actually okay. It wasn't really brown. It was like sort of lighter brown.
Sort of, what, like stone, sort of light beige?
Yeah, sort of brown / beige. I don't know, somewhere in the middle.
Beige.
Yes, beige.
It's like a cream, though, isn't it? No. What's a brown?
Yeah, it was kind of a creamy brown, I guess.
Was it like a
Makes
speckly paint? Did it have like
No,
stuff in it?
just-
Or was it just a solid colour?
Yep, just smooth,
Huh.
smooth brown.
Magnolia. News. What else we got?
News. Something
Who's
about
in the bathroom?
esports on BBC Three.
Yeah, the Gfinity Elite Series is being shown by the BBC.
Featuring
Although
Di
they say-
Barlow. Oh, probably not.
Apparently they're still playing. I think they're like 2 up, 2 down.
I'm
in
going
the
to be in
series.
esports
You're
because
gonna-
our team made it to the final of the Rocket League Giant Bomb tournament, and that's going to be broadcast on Giant Bomb theoretically.
Oh, nice.
Maybe not in like a particularly official or dramatic. It'll probably just be like the chat page will be up and it will just get streamed.
You'll have to post a link
Probably
on.
won't be an actual thing.
Okay.
Well,
you know.
congratulations for being good at Rocket League.
Yeah, apparently.
You have to post that on the Salad thread if there is a proper link and stuff like that. So get your linky to the Giant Bomb Rocket League tournament stream
Well, we can
featuring the Nintendo Download Express.
it'd be convenient if it gets archived as well. That would be nice. We could have a more permanent link.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see though.
Get a copy.
Again, don't know what's actually going to happen with that because this whole tournament has been a big mess of organisation. And you know, getting 2 teams together to play each other when they're operating independently without having to be coordinated by a third party, that was difficult. But now we're going to have this whole other layer of organisation to worry about. And you know, we're a Europe team. Chances are probably not going to be another Europe team in the final. And if it's going to be broadcast on Giant Bomb at a time where they're paying attention, that's going to have to be during American hours anyway.
I guess, but the end of their day is... Well, the start of their day is the end of ours,
Yeah,
right?
pretty
So
much.
that's not too bad.
We should be able to get away with it.
Yeah.
Theoretically, it might be 2 European teams in the final. There's still at least one other in the losers bracket.
I see. Well, the Europeans love their soccer.
Yeah, apparently.
Soccer. There we go. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, esports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I don't think the Beeb have done, at least it's an official series, and Gfinity is a British series, right? And they're picking it up admittedly, they're picking it up like 3 or 4 weeks into it actually starting.
Well, no one cares about the early games.
No.
Just like any tournament.
Well, I think the Gfinity, Guffinity is like a league,
right.
like across several teams.
Yeah, but still.
And it's,
You don't care about the qualifiers or the lead or the group stages.
I guess.
Not if you're broadcasting esports for the first time ever, maybe. Where it's just like you only want to show the highest play. You don't want to show all these other bullshit games where it's just like they grinded it out.
Also, broadcast is perhaps the wrong term because it's on BBC Three, which
Yeah.
is like an internet channel now.
Yeah.
But I guess it turns up on iPlayer. I guess that's what that means.
I suppose.
Still, it's a mainstream push for video games.
Not really.
It's a sort of mainstream. If it turns up on iPlayer, that's kind of a big deal, I guess.
I
It will be
the
on
Americans
iPlayer.
have already had it on actual television. I mean, for as much as one of their channels counts as actual television, I guess.
Wait, but
like ESPN some number.
Well, in this country, that means nothing, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying America has had it literally broadcast.
Yeah, what was it? The International, wasn't it? Or it was on... Was it the International?
Yeah,
it was on like ESPN 3 or something?
Yeah.
The weird sport channel?
Yes. ESPN
8. Yeah. Where they show Die Hard 8. It's a sport. Watching Die Hard 8 is a sport.
Yeah.
An endurance trial.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of it, because we've talked about this in the past. Like, what would it take to get esports legitimized? I suppose that outside of gamer culture, and it's maybe big. One of the suggestions we always had was like perhaps making big broadcasters pick it up and somehow make it accessible to viewers.
Yeah. I mean, my problem is that like I like video games, and I think quite a lot of people like video games, and they don't give a shit about esports.
Yeah, no, you're right. Esports is still quite niche, even within gamers. Like, I'm interested in its existence, but I can't say I watch a lot of it.
They don't play the right games for us.
That's true.
The esports games aren't actually the games that we like to watch that much.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, I've been known to watch highlights of Smash Brothers, but that's like highlights. It's not like I'd sit down and watch every goddamn match.
And I don't know, fighting games, and especially games like Street Fighter, where the actual moveset it's kind of limited, right? Okay, putting together a combo is impressive, but it's only impressive because I know how difficult that game is to play. To actually watch it and it just happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't.
Well, and there's too much subtlety. Like,
yeah,
you don't know how you don't like normal people wouldn't understand how how they managed to get into that combo and how they managed to maintain the combo and what the other guy was doing to try and combat that situation.
And don't get me wrong, like the commentators, I refuse to call them shoutcasters.
Yep, exactly.
The commentators can do the job of explaining what just happened there and be like, "Oh, did you see that? There was a little pause there," and that was say that was really difficult to do. But yeah. Like, I think Street Fighter games especially move so fast.
Yes, that's the actual trouble with most of these games.
I mean, they could do, once they get like replay suites and stuff like that, they could do that and then go back and go, oh, look at this. This is what happened here. Let's analyze that.
Yeah, but then you get into the problem of like you're repeating this content over again and again, maybe multiple times, multiple parts of it. It's like that's.
Well, actually, the bigger problem is that they'd be upsetting the flow of the match in order to let the TV have enough time to put a replay on, because they just bang it out, don't they, when they're in there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could do the replays after the whole set,
I guess,
like after 7 matches or whatever. Show the replays of the important moments,
which they do kind of already do.
Yeah,
on a lot of big tournaments or esports streams. I don't know what I would like 100% really like to watch in like an esport. Like CS is actually kind of like, it's a weird one because I think FPSs are actually quite difficult to portray.
Yeah.
But actually watching CS:GO is kind of alright. Yeah. Like that sort of works.
Well, it's similar. I think watching the CS stuff is almost, I'd say, also similar to like how it works with like StarCraft, where in reality there is a time of like setting up and positioning, and then just everything happens, and then that's it. It's like it's the same with CS and StarCraft. It's like CS, you're just trying to find the enemy team, and then normally there's just a fight, and then that resolves, and that's it. Sometimes there's like a leftover bit where it's just like, oh, one guy got away or whatever. But then it's the same in StarCraft, except like longer. You've got, here's the 20 minutes of setting it up for the big fight, and then you just mash everything together and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I have watched.
So subtle.
I have watched StarCraft, and admittedly, like it does occasionally have its moments, like where you can clearly see if the commentators and whoever's directing the camera does a good enough job of showing you what the tactics that are happening are, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Then it can be real interesting, but again, I think StarCraft has too high a barrier to entry.
Yep.
And of course, that barrier of entry is nothing on what you need in order to understand what the hell's going on watching Dota.
Well, not
And
really though. I mean,
the background leveling, the numbers behind the stats, the gold gain, like when people pick off couriers, it's like there's an awful lot to actually understand about how that game works. When they're talking about, I'm getting a BKB,
yeah, but
it's like
you're not really watching that. You're watching the moves. You're not really paying attention to the actual stat bonuses. You're seeing when people are firing their moves at each other and seeing them hit or whatever. That's the bit that is watchable.
Kinda, but I still think even that, like having played HOTS and still finding that sometimes, like knowing when you're getting hit as a player is not that well pronounced sometimes. That watching it happen to a million players at once is a bit tricky. I do wonder if they could make like Battlegrounds a bit more interesting to watch, but those games I think are a bit too long, maybe.
Well,
and like I guess
lots
when there's
of downtime in those games.
Yeah, but then I wonder if you can because there's lots of players, you can skip about to like where the action is, but then you do get behind anyone.
And then you can't maintain a storyline or anything. You're constantly switching camera angles to some other
the match story.
It's like what they did at the EA press conference with Battlegrounds, where it's just like, it's just, here's a guy, this guy died, this guy flew into a building.
Yeah, but Battlefield, it just totally doesn't work, right? It's too big a scale.
Yeah.
I think they could do something out of Siege, maybe. Siege could be interesting.
Yeah, I guess.
But we talked about it. There aren't really many games where it's just where you can be a spectator and appreciate what's going on. I guess Rocket League gets close.
Yeah.
But that's almost in a weird way, Rocket League is almost kind of crap for this as well, because it's almost the opposite problem. I actually don't find what I shouldn't say this, given that we've just plugged your match, but I don't know. In a weird way, watching Rocket League isn't all that entertaining.
It depends. Well, I don't know. It depends.
At least not to me. I don't know. It's. I watch Rocket League and go, I don't know how the bloody hell they just did that, and I get that sort of. I'm impressed with what they can do and the coordination behind it, but it's not like I have a moment where I watch it and just go, "Oh, snap! Did you see that? That was sick."
I don't know. That's what pretty much all of them the pro games are like. It's just like ridiculous. Everything's flying everywhere.
But I think a lot of the pro teams have their strategy, and you just see it over and over and over again.
Well, sure, it's because it's the one strategy that's actually functionally good against other pros.
I guess
you have to do the backboard into the aerial,
drop
one
it
guy
down,
on defense,
or perhaps do the vertical drop over the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I still think it's a tough problem, but as long as it's not Evolve, we're all right. Esports. Or that Darwin project.
Yep.
There we go. That's the next failed eel sport.
Eel sport.
Eel sport. Okay, come up with a term. Failed esports are now going to be called eel sports. I don't quite know why an eel represents failure, but there we go.
Eels up inside your fighting entrance where they can.
Eels.
Yeah, I listened to a recent 99% Invisible podcast talk about the evolution of basketball. That was kind of interesting. I didn't realize that the 3-point throw was like an introduction, because they, somebody invented the slam dunk and then it kind of dominated the game, and it got ridiculous. And so the 3-point throw was like a thing where you didn't matter how tall you were or whatever,
yeah,
stuff like that.
It
was like a
level
level
to throw a good shot. Yeah.
It's interesting how that game has evolved in terms of the rules quite a lot in comparison to something like, I don't know, football, but hasn't really changed.
No, they did. Didn't they muck around with offside at one point or something like that?
Offside was the main thing,
yeah.
I guess.
When did they change offside? Or introduce it?
I don't know when they changed it, but yeah.
It's quite a while ago now. Or whether or not goalkeeper, the pass back thing to keep
the back pass.
That's the only other thing I can remember that they really tweaked.
What did they change there?
You're not allowed to pick up the ball if it's back pass to you.
But didn't they revert
you have to
that?
kick it, right?
Didn't they change it so you can now pick it up?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't remember what the most recent rule was, but I'm pretty sure you have to kick it. Which, that's kind of minor, I suppose. Apart from where it leads to goalkeepers being dumb and fucking this up. It's a bit like Rocket League in that way.
Yeah.
If you're going to make a back pass, you better make it a good one.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if that was like a time wasting thing.
Well, yeah, there's that too, I suppose. You know, that's one of those rules that you almost never see, is like how long a goalkeeper is actually allowed to hold on to the ball. Because they just know. But you very rarely ever see that actually come up as an actual penalisation.
No, the ref doesn't normally sort of stick his oar in and go, "Hey, that was. Why are you still holding the ball?"
Yeah,
like, come on. I don't even know what the penalty would be for that. Would they just have a penalty?
It's probably not an actual penalty.
Yeah, a free kick from outside the box or something.
Possibly.
What else you got? What other news?
There's this Pokemon Go festival thing in Chicago. 20,000 people turned up and the game didn't work. Doesn't sound like a good idea.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it was like, come to this thing. Not only can you play Pokemon Go with everyone there, but there'll be like rare Pokemon that you can't otherwise get.
Well, they were doing the thing. They were doing the thing that they showed in like the first video, like when Nintendo first showed the fake ass video of Pokemon Go, where it's like, oh, go to Times Square and catch Mewtwo. They were basically doing that, except some other legendary Pokemon, not Mewtwo. You have to all work together to capture it, and then unfortunately it doesn't quite work. So come back again, I guess.
We didn't buy enough server time.
Well, I don't know if that was it. I don't know.
Or just connectivity. Was 20,000 people in the same place, like pushing.
You think they could have thought ahead about that, though?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess it depends if it would it have been a cell phone company thing at that point, where it would just be overloading that bit of the network.
Yeah, they should have set up special net and towers, because I've noticed that they do that these days for festivals. Like Glastonbury definitely had special mobile towers, and even Wireless at the end of my street had a special mobile tower, I'm pretty sure.
But I think running that stuff is really quite expensive, and also,
I'm sure.
And again, it's probably still, depending on where it is, it probably still puts strain on the mobile network. If you're like operating Wi-Fi, like the Wi-Fi goes to the phones, but then where does the Wi-Fi come from? It's like, unless they've been able to wire it in somehow, which not all festivals can do.
Well, that's the thing, is that has to be basically cell phone, like mobile signal, because that has all the tech for the queuing that's necessary to handle that many people in one area, whereas Wi-Fi is just not designed for it. So Wi-Fi never fucking works in a conference, like, just because the protocol is not designed for it. Like, you can try and patch it over, but it just, at some point, it just doesn't work. Like, you could never have like a free Wi-Fi in a stadium full of people watching sport or whatever, because it just isn't designed for it.
Well, didn't Wimbledon have it in certain spots this year?
Oh, I didn't see that. But that's
probably not that many
smaller,
people.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, there's definitely smaller, but I think it was being trialled this year that they would have Wi-Fi. Admittedly, there were still Wi-Fi zones. It wasn't like site-wide.
Yeah.
But did you see any of the stuff on like how I think is it IBM? I think like how IBM try and figure out what's interesting at Wimbledon. They have like a computer program like that analyzes all the video footage coming in and then tries to gauge it for excitement and stuff.
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
cool.
Well, this was an interesting shot. We'll automatically add it to the highlight reel for producers to pick from. And it's quite bonkers.
That's kind of cool, but it's just kind of showing off, really, because people are actually watching all the games at Wimbledon, so you don't really need. It's not like you're sifting through tons of stuff trying to find the gems. People are watching everything. Yeah,
well, I get it's designed for the producer or the poor guy who has to cut together a montage at the end of every day's worth of Wimbledon footage. I suppose it's just like, here's all the interesting stuff.
That seems like a thing that would be more useful for maybe like golf or something, where all the people are spread out and they're all playing different shots, different times, and you've got like a bunch of cameras. Because like when they do actual golf on TV with commentary and everything, it's just like the commentators don't fucking know what's about to come up because that's been picked out by some guy somewhere else. Here's this guy on this hole. I guess he's about to take a chance.
Yeah, the golf commentators are pretty much seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah,
with the delays and everything. Like, you know, they'll hear a cheer from somewhere, won't they? And they'll be
like, "Oh, something just happened."
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be good if it could work out based on prior games. You know, on the course and all the golfers and everything, like where to cut, where is promising that something exciting will happen in the next minute or whatever.
But if you think like just how they do golf, like on this constant replay, you're never seeing it live, or very rarely, maybe on like the final stuff.
When it's paying attention to the main.
When towards the end, when they, you know, there's fewer things to focus on, they can do it live. But you know, the majority of the early stuff is entirely replay footage.
Pretty much, but they disguise it to look like it's all live.
Yeah,
not really disguised, but you know.
It's kind of amazing how that all comes together, really.
Yeah, I really like watching the Masters for coverage, even relatively early on. It's quite interesting. I don't know how they do it. I guess the feed, it's not even the BBC doing it, is it? They get the feed from the American...
Whoever's running the event.
CBS or whoever it is.
Yeah. In the same way, I guess anyone who watches F1, all the feeds come from...
F1,
whoever,
don't they?
Yeah, the F1 corporation or whoever they are, they run their own camera stuff.
Yeah.
You know, whenever a team radio comes over the line, that's them deciding to put it up. Most of the screen graphics, in most cases, are run by the F1 core as well. You know, it's like it's all provided. All we do is put a voice on it, and then have people doing interviews and stuff like that. That's how. I guess that's how most sport has to work. 'Cause you can't have everyone bring their own cameras and their own rigs. Be madness. What other news?
I just saw a trailer for a game called Noita. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Noita?
What do you think? It's a Finnish word. It means witch,
well,
apparently.
This is one of those things where, like, many years ago, presumably off a PC Gamer cover disc, we've once played a game which had simulated pixel physics, and I can't quite remember what it was, and I've never seen it again. It was a demo, so fuck even knows if it even came out.
Pixel physics. So
when, like,
pixel physics
it collapses, and it had like liquids,
like kind of scorched earth, but like real time.
Exactly.
But with everything simulated, different
just like
materials.
I remember that happening, and then
I'm with you.
I remember that demo, and then I remember we played it, and you know it wasn't much of a game even for a demo. And then that technology never seemed to go anywhere, and now it's back apparently.
Yeah. So this is like a roguelike, but with that stuff.
Yeah, pixel physics.
Pixel physics.
Interesting.
Which kind of looks up your street, I would say, Zeg.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it seems to be like. I mean, the question will be like how it generates the levels, being as it is a roguelike or whatever. Because it looks like caves and
sort of terraria-y sort of.
Yeah, sort of terraria, and it's just like how like tile based is it? How random can it be? Because that's the classic question about the roguelike stuff, really.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, particularly if it's like it shows a couple of times in the trailer where it's just like you knock over this giant wheel and it rolls down the hill and kills people. It's like, that's a very precise set piece, and is that going to become too common? You're going to be like, oh, here's the wheel room, I'll just shoot that real quick, and then that will go and kill everything.
Well, maybe the trick will be, it's like, oh, it's the wheel room. Should I push the wheel? Like, you know, if they can add some sort of gameplay element where that might not be the preferred course of action.
Yeah, but even then, that's still just like a do it or don't do it situation.
Well, maybe
you just analyze it as soon as you enter the room.
I guess if I roll this wheel down, is it going to destroy a pathway or something because of, you know, pixel physics?
Yeah.
So you know, like I know everything about pixel physics there, by the way, having had you just explain what you meant by it.
Well, it's pretty much what you think as far yeah. It looks pretty cool. I think you're right, Zeg, about what could be wrong with it, but yeah.
It's the same problems, as you say, that plague every roguelike, really.
Yeah. Yeah, but like it's going to be more obvious that, because if traditional roguelikes are kind of already tile based, it works.
It's like the
something
pixel
that's
density.
Like, something that's like got a lot of curves and well, or how would you describe
handcrafted elements.
Yeah. It might look a bit weird if it's like artificially split into tiles for the sake of generation. Maybe they're tiles, and then there's some kind of thing that just roughs them up, shakes it.
I was thinking that, yeah, it does something like, oh, we need to make this look a bit grassy, so we'll randomize the pixels a bit.
Well, that was the problem with Dirt 4, wasn't it? Where it's like you get these tiles, and they're too obvious that they're tiles because they have the exact same scenery every time. Where it's just like if you just made a random tree randomizer or something, you could have hidden it much better.
Or different truck liveries or colours, or maybe there shouldn't be a truck on this corner. You know, the truck was the obvious one when we did the video.
It would be cool if Speed Tree was like actually fast enough to do it real time. I don't think anyone's ever used it real time, have they?
I don't think so. Well.
Or not even real time, but like fast enough that you could like generate a level with it without it taking forever.
Not in that way, but games like Fast Racing have used procedural generation as a way of building their levels without needing to store the data for the level, if you know what I mean. So they apparently use procedural generation to build textures in places of the game, like to make like higher detail, like rougher, make it look a bit rougher in spots.
Okay, rather than just a shader.
Yeah, it's a demo scene trick, right? It's like we'll write an algorithm to generate this pattern that we want, rather than storing the pattern. So they would do that in spots, or they would use the algorithm to organize tree placement or something like that, and which ultimately makes no difference because the result was the same because it was running the same algorithm. It was like it was procedural in that sense. But what I mean is like this stuff is, in theory, very possible, right? You just move a tree around. Sometimes it could be as simple as like, well, this in the Dirt 4 case, it could be like, here's the tile for the turn. That remains roughly the same, but the grass placement could move around, or the rock that's on the inside of that turn may or may not be there, or is somewhere else. It's like something. The variation of tile thing is where you hide the edge.
Well, as we said, I'm pretty sure, as we said, where it's like you'd think that should be actually easy to do. It's just like you just make a set of XY coordinates that can spawn an object, and then have the object spawn randomly, and it's just like,
well, yeah, in its very simplest form, it's like, here's a spawn point. Choose whether to put something there, and then have a fixed list of what it could choose to put there.
Surely you could have a rudimentary like simulation of like how a forest really grows or whatever, and how seeds get distributed and stuff.
That maybe would be a bit much.
But I mean, you pare it down to.
Well, maybe you use that to build the tile variations, if you know what I mean. You store the results of that computation.
Yeah.
Because like having that computation run on the fly might, even for a game like Dirt 4 in the modern age, that might be a bit complex.
Yeah, but you could do it during load of the level rather than like as you're flying towards it at 90 miles an hour.
No, but even then, I reckon the load times for that sort of stuff would be quite epic.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not saying it's impossible. It definitely is possible. You could do that, but it'd probably be quite epic. I reckon you could use techniques like that to build your tile set or make your tile set bigger.
Yeah. Not just have it be the same every time.
Yeah.
That was the mistake.
Well, like none of the guns in like Borderlands is the example, right? Like the guns look like they're randomly generated, but it's actually a fixed table of guns that were pre-computed randomly. Is how that works. It's like the game's not generating guns. It's the guns have all been made. It just picks which ones to put in loot boxes randomly.
Sure.
But the guns were made of a list of parts, which were then put together at some point.
Yeah.
So that was like.
So in a way,
that's the same
Borderlands gun model is the idea.
Yeah.
You just need to do that on a turn.
Yeah.
Or on a set of tiles for a roguelike with pixel physics.
Yeah.
Which is called Noita. So check that out when it comes out.
Interesting one. I wasn't aware of that. Oh, I will have a look.
Right, that's everything I've got for news.
Titanfall 2 is getting a horde mode.
Horde mode.
As it should have already had, surely.
Because the first game had horde mode. Yeah, and apparently this is...
Really? They're putting Salmon Run into Titanfall 2?
Well, in fairness, the first Titanfall had a horde mode. Yeah. And I think this is... Well, some amount of time after launch, it gained a horde mode.
Yeah.
And I think this is the same from what I've seen.
Well, that makes sense.
Like this is just the same mode that they've decided to bring into
I mean, that sounds fun.
2. It wasn't bad. It was quite hard, but it was all right in the first game. So I'm still really surprised that they are actually still supporting that game. If it sold as badly as everyone claimed, it's kind of amazing that they're actually still doing the free update schedule for it. Good on them, I guess, for filling it in. But I'm not 100% sure that's a good business move for them. But if EA is willing to bankroll it, then right, go for it. I guess it creates more Titanfall 2 news.
Well, and maybe they're just once again, maybe it's just somewhere they've done the math for Titanfall 3, where it's just like, we support this and don't be bastards. Maybe more people buy Titanfall 3. Yeah. More people should have bought Titanfall 2. Yeah. Well, I guess more people technically did buy Titanfall 2 than 1, so maybe it's a gradual upwards trend.
Guess, yeah. They still see it as maybe in a way they still see it as a positive. Like, even if it didn't sell Battlefield numbers, I might check in. I've still got that game installed, so I might download the updates and check in, see what it's like. Because there's supposedly new maps dropped as well, not that long ago. Titanfall, cool game. Speaking of multiplayer games with updates, Doomfist got officially released on Overwatch.
Eventually,
and he seems kind of interesting. He's he's basically a melee character with a shotgun instead of a just attached to the top of his knuckles on his not massive hand. So he's you have to get up in people's faces, but he does seem quite powerful once he's in your face. Like he has a rocket punch that charges quite quickly, and on a lot of characters that's insta kill. Like it will do enough damage to take down a Mercy, for instance, in a single punch, quite easily. So I don't know. There was talk while he was in the test realm that he was a bit overpowered. So maybe some of that is still to be nerfed now that it's made it into public. But we'll see. He seems alright. He's kind of fun.
Cool.
But I still haven't managed to get into a game on the new map, the moon map. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment on that. I've tried, but it just never seems to come up. I kind of want to see what that map's like. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, sounds good. Does it have low gravity shit?
Yes, that was the question.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. I doubt it. To be honest, I highly doubt it. Otherwise, Winston would fly for miles.
Make it more useful.
It's like Unreal
he's already ridiculoly useful in maps where you need to get around real quick, like capture the flag. He's almost a must-have. Yeah. So it'd be I want to check that out. They haven't run an event for a while. Is the interesting thing, I guess, because they've put this map out and because they've put Doomfist out recently. It means we haven't had the Summer Games thing this year. Unless that's still to come, unless that's still an August thing, I don't know. But they haven't run an event for a while. So there's been very little reason for me to come back and play the game because, I tend to go back into the game when there's an event on to see what loot I can get. These event things are kind of what draws me back. It's like when there's not an event on, it's like, right, this is the moment where I'll play other games. And then an event starts and it's like, right, it's Overwatch week. So there's that. Didn't Zach want to mention that there's rumours that next Xbox and next PlayStation exist in some form?
Of course they exist.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but more than they just exist as the rumours from some guy's Twitter where he was talking about it said fairly specific things like the Xbox One Aura is it's definitely in the stage of having a code name and there's actual design documents about it and stuff. It's not totally theoretical.
Right.
Does it? Are we talking major console release? As in, would this be PlayStation 5?
Well, the PlayStation 1 people have been saying is likely to be PlayStation 5, which is weird. of course. This is the situation where as soon as these rumours turned up, it was just like, but you're only just now releasing the Pro, and you made this whole big deal about how we were maybe getting rid of generations and we were going to have gradually upgraded consoles, but now we're back to 5.
But the console makers themselves haven't really ever said that. They haven't ever really said it's like, oh, we're the ones, like, well, we're moving away from generations. It's like the internet has said that.
I don't know. I feel like they might have.
And I know Phil Spencer is a bit more open about this stuff generally on the Microsoft side about where they're not quite sure whether this I think he's been quite honest and be like, we're not quite sure if this generational thing makes sense anymore.
Yeah.
But Sony have stayed quite tight-lipped because they're Sony.
But, it just makes it seem too soon. That's the thing. If you're releasing the incremental upgrade, which is it's not like it's a Slim where it's just a different shape and doesn't really change. It's like these new ones are actually slightly different in terms of tech. But then you're already thinking about the next one.
Xbox One X slimmer.
Yep.
Somehow. Even if the X is the smallest console they've ever made, they're already planning a slimmer.
And, it sucks for them because they've wasted the Xbox One X on the upgrade instead of, the new one. What are they going to call the next Xbox?
But then the more
Xbox Next, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Obviously.
Well, Microsoft, I think, if anyone's going to do this, it's no longer a generational thing, then Microsoft might be the ones to do that, right? There will come a point where they probably have to do a generational jump so games aren't limited by the older hardware, right?
Well, breaking compatibility thing is going to be the problem to that whole situation of theoretical rental upgrades.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't think Microsoft are so deep in this backwards compatibility thing that if they do a new machine and it's not backwards compatible with current Xbone or even a 360 or even original Xbox when they get there, it's like I think that will be perceived as a mistake because they're so in on that now that if they do a ridiculous architecture change, that means that that Xbox 2 is not backwards compatible out the gate. That seems very anti what they're about now.
Yeah, at this point, you can't really avoid breaking compatibility at some point with some things.
Sure.
But, do they just have to give up and just make consoles into PCs, except more user-friendly PCs? I mean, you could. It's another thing we probably talked about
this with the Steam box.
With the Steam box,
yeah.
But, at a certain point, surely the solution is, you make a box, but then you have, the components actually be removable just by, you just pull them straight out.
Okay.
Just have the graphics card be encased in plastic, and you just wedge it in there. And when you get a new one, you just wedge the new one in there, and it internally has some kind of mechanism within the Xbox that detects the card and automatically sets the settings for the games on the back end, so you don't have to think about it. I mean, just buy the upgrade and shove it in there.
That works up until the point where things like the motherboard bus speed is an important component.
Well, sure, but then at a certain point, if you're going down this route, you just make everything modular somehow.
I mean, the whole way that these cheaper compared to buying a whole bunch of components and putting in your PC consoles that are still powerful work is because they're specially architected motherboards that have the chips placed physically closer together and stuff and all arranged carefully, right? The fact that the GPU and the CPU are next to each other is an important part, and surrounded by the RAM, which is all graphic style RAM, is part of the reason that they can be so performant and relatively cheap. Not that the Scorpio or Xbox One X is cheap, but in comparison to
they build a whole lot more of these than they do any individual PC part.
Exactly. So that's the reason. I mean, the fact that it's not modular is the reason why it's affordable and fast. So you can't turn it into a PC. It will just become like one of those expensive small home theater gaming PCs that
I agree up to the point where, boy, do Microsoft need to embrace this interchangeable hard drive thing.
Oh, that one's fine. I mean, the hard drive isn't a performance, but I guess it sort of is. But
SSD, but But I know what you mean. It's like that's the one thing I think Microsoft should address with their system. Is like, can we update the hard drive?
So basically, what we've just proved from that conversation is that console generations are not going to go away.
No, they're not. They've actually accelerated. If anyone's noticed,
yeah. I don't think they're going to go away, but I think Microsoft are going to keep this backwards compatibility. I think they will at some point have to have, hey, this is Xbox 2, and these games are only going to work on Xbox 2 upwards. But I think they're going to. At this point in time, from what they've been doing recently, I think they are going to have permanent backwards compatibility across the Xbox range.
Yeah.
And
I think that the 360
just the entire message they've gone with recently.
The 360 is going to be the longest period on a single hardware that there ever will be.
Well, I don't know. You say that, but the NES and the original Game Boy might already have that title.
yeah, but you know what I mean. Going forward or whatever, it won't be. They'll all be shorter than that.
You say that Microsoft can't get rid of their backwards compatibility, but Nintendo did eventually. They were like, we can't do it any longer. We can't have this console be backwards compatible with the previous one any longer. We have to give that up.
Sure, but they only ever went back one step.
Well, sure, but they always did it.
But now Microsoft have emulated it, and all the platforms are basically PCs.
Well, sure.
What's stopping them from just keeping it? We've got the emulator. We can just put that on the next one.
Well, it depends. I guess that depends on if the way they've made their emulator is tied to the hardware in any way, that would make it more difficult.
Yeah, because the way Ninty did it was basically just by having effectively the same hardware inside it. Wasn't it? It's like, and even Sony did that, right? When the PS3 playing PS2.
Yep.
I'm not sure how PS2 emulated PS1 games. I don't know how that was done. Maybe that was on board chips as well. But yeah, and that's why the later PlayStation 3s couldn't play PlayStation 2 games because they just ripped that whole chipset out to save money. Whereas Microsoft have a software solution, so it's like
yes, but that's if the software is still somehow tied to the hardware, then that still makes it more difficult.
Yeah, who knows? Whatever that emulation team is doing, it's genius. It's genius work. Because the open source community hasn't cracked 360 and they haven't figured out original Xbox, so I guess no one.
I guess they have quite a strong advantage,
significant advantage, and with both resources and knowledge.
Yeah,
but still, that's a hard problem to solve, and they're doing it. What? Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. I think Microsoft keep backwards compatibility.
They should.
It's their USP.
They should just move the backwards compatibility literally onto PC. Just make it an emulator.
But that does come up, and I think Phil Spencer has talked about that at one point, saying it's like we're just not there. Like the emulator does expect, and this is the thing, like that backs up your statement. Like I think they have sort of said it's like, well, we haven't brought 360 to PC because it does expect certain timings. And maybe that's not. Maybe if you're like with a lot of emulation, if your PC dips below a certain threshold for whatever reason, like emulation gets bad real fast, right? Like when emulation doesn't work right, it doesn't just drop a frame; it drops sound, it drops input, it drops all kinds of things, and it goes real horrible. And maybe they're just a bit paranoid about that. We don't want to present these 360 games in the horrible, underpowered emulatory way that, like when you're trying to run Dolphin, like the old versions of Dolphin, for instance. It's like, it's not going to. I can see why they wouldn't do it for that reason. Maybe when PCs get powerful enough, like give it a few years where the baseline PC can actually just run this stuff in its sleep, then it's like, we put the 360 emulator out. There you go. So difficult choice. I think that's news.
Yeah, it's time for what you've been playing, I think. So, who's going first this week?
Oh, Fortnite came out. I'll just quickly say that I don't know anything about it, but that game exists now.
For a certain definition it came out.
It was in like an open beta or something.
Some kind of early access thing.
Okay.
Apparently, people are kind of pissed because they're selling bundles for it, but it's going to be a free-to-play game, and it's not very well communicated that that's the case.
Okay. Well, I knew it was a free-to-play, but
yeah,
and I think they've kind of always said it was going to be free-to-play.
Well, yeah, that too. But apparently, on like the page where you go to the official, I guess, store page or whatever, where it's just like showing these bundles, it doesn't really ever say that it's a free-to-play game, apart from in like some really tiny small print-ish kind of text somewhere. It's like, that's a bit ridiculous. You don't have your like describe the game blurb that very clearly says it's free to play or whatever.
Right, gotcha. Right, sorry to derail it for a second, but
it's okay.
That game's been in development for so long.
Yeah,
and it's still in development.
Okay,
at least you can play it.
Well, let's go with you, Rob, so we can save up some Splatoon for later. What have you been playing, Rob?
Well, I got a brief amount of more Zelda time in.
Yep.
Well, before Splatoon came out.
Yep.
So we can lead with that.
All right.
I still haven't finished it. Still haven't finished it, but I've
me either.
been mucking around in Gerudo.
Yeah, I did that.
That's both an interesting and frustrating area of the game.
Yeah.
It's like it mixes things up, I think, more than any other area of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of how you get about, what the environment's like, and it's kind of a hardcore area in a way. Like, oh, it's hot now, it's all cold, and it's like, how would I have done this if I went there early?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty tough if you go there first.
Yeah. But equally, I found like the need for more traversal is a bit frustrating in that area, and keeping a sand seal, as it turns out, is actually kind of tricky. Like, they just sort of disappear, bugger off of their own free will. So until you get the shrines around that area, like actually like getting about is a bit irritating.
I managed to get the sand shoes, actually.
Yes, I've got those. Yeah,
they're pretty helpful.
I haven't got my snow boots back though. Like, I know how to because I saw the thing I need to go do, but it's like, why didn't I just take a picture of that and then I could have done this immediately?
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't have though, because I don't think you can't pre-take pictures of stuff,
and then it wouldn't take it later.
Yeah,
you got to hike back up there.
And I can't remember where the thing was now. Is the thing. So yeah, I tell you, it's real interesting. It's like again, like as Zelda keeps doing, it's like I'm surprised by how much it keeps managing to surprise me.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Even if the gaps between surprises are really, really long,
they are now.
When they do happen, it's like, oh, okay, you still had a card up your sleeve. That's fun.
But how shitty was that stealth section?
Yeah, okay, so I did the Yiga clan hideout, and yeah, I agree with you, Zeg. It's not good. I don't. So what's the deal with it? It's like
the worst part in the game.
I don't understand why they let you fight. Your way out, because you
can't win.
You can't really win.
You can.
You can win.
That's how I did it.
I came pretty close, but it's instant kill, and it disables your fairies and your Mipha's Grace and whatever. Every single healing item doesn't work.
All you have to do, it turns out, as I eventually worked out, is you just use one of the Lionel bows that fires multiple arrows, and just use electro arrows, and just shoot like 3 in their face immediately. Like, if you just unload as quick as you can with the triple arrow for the massive damage, like you can kill those big dudes quicker than they can react, essentially.
Right. Okay. I hadn't tried that. I mean, because obviously they want you to do the stealth or whatever, and it's not that long, really.
No, but it is irritating that they make you replay the first few.
That's annoying. Like, it should have more like save points in it. I think that's the big flaw with it.
And then the larger one is a little awkward, because especially when you get right to the end and there's quite a few guards about,
overlapping zones.
Yeah, and even though you can like draw them out with various bits of bananas or something, it's like you're not quite sure whether you can draw them all or if someone's going to notice you from afar before you sneak in. And then they come look. I got lucky when I did it, because I think I'd managed to draw the one in front of the doorway out, and I was like, that's really cutting it fine. If he turns around to come back to his spot, like that corridor is long enough that he would have seen me. but then you can drop the other one, and it managed to pull like 3 guards towards the same set of bananas, and it's like, oh, okay, no, that's cool. I've got loads of time now.
I like the animation of them.
Oh yeah, that's what
going
like
to the banana. That was cool. I mean, and the design of it is cool. I like the Yiga clan design, and I really like the boss. Like that guy's stupid and hilarious.
It's one of the most, it's the most inventive boss fight in the game, even if it is really easy.
It's ridiculously easy, but I like that character. He's hilarious. The Yiga clan leader. Yeah, that was really good.
Now I'm prepared to be doubly annoyed because after you've done the Yiga clan hideout, now you get those big dudes and the assassins can just appear randomly in the overworld. You don't even have to find them at the side of the road; they can just spawn.
What?
Really?
Yep. From now on, now you're fucked.
Are they instant kill as well?
No, they're like toned down. You can fight them normally, but even just the regular dudes with the bows, they'll just spawn out of nowhere. It really sucks.
Forever.
Yep, forever.
Oh,
from now on.
Oh, brilliant. Looking forward to that.
Yep.
Well, and then just in the Gerudo area or just anywhere?
No, everywhere. The whole world is now infested with Yiga. They'll find you no matter where you are.
Brilliant.
I wouldn't have minded so much if they just like limited to be like when you were near a road or something.
Like where you found the original guy.
Yeah. But it's just like you could be miles out in the middle of absolute nowhere where there's no one else around, and it would just suddenly the fight music starts up and you hear the laughing and the spawn poof noise. You're like, God damn it, fuck off.
That sounds annoying.
Yep.
Okay.
Quite annoying.
Yet to experience that. Okay.
That's another good reason to do Gerudo last, in case you needed any more reasons.
Right, okay, fair enough.
Don't have to suffer that for any longer than you need to.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, I've done it the right way around then, because I've already got like 100 shrines, and I only just did the Yiga clan hideout, so...
Yeah, I think I managed to get to about 100 shrines as well at this point. And I guess the only thing left to do is to start heading into Hyrule. And it's like, I've got one memory I haven't found, and I can't find the painted guy to... I know he's told me about it.
Yes, you talked to him once.
But because it doesn't store what he tells you, I don't know where he was to explain. It's the forest one. I haven't found the forest one.
He's in one of the stables.
Yeah.
The forest.
Bottom right, I think, on the album.
It's the least
distinctive.
Yeah, least distinctive picture, where it's just like, here's some trees.
Yeah.
But is it the one where you can see the dueling peaks in the background?
No. No, it literally just looks
lake one.
It literally just looks like a forest, like, and there's no real defining feature.
Yeah, I can't remember where I found that.
And then there's 2 that are clearly in central Hyrule. That one of which I know where it is, and the other one must be on the castle somewhere. So it's.
I know the forest one. Yeah, I know where that is, and there's loads of forests, so I don't know how I managed to find it.
So I need to try and find Picento, is it Pictoco or something, whatever his name is, and find his description of that place again. And it's like, I can't.
He does. To be fair, he does tell you exactly where to go for that one. He just says, just head north or whatever. Just head south from here.
And it's like incredibly close.
Yeah, it's really close to him as well because he's.
I do remember him saying that, but I just didn't do it at the time, and now I can't remember where he was. And it's like that's a problem.
The thing about those pictures, which like is functionally like better for gameplay but worse for storytelling, is like that picture's 100 years in the past. Those trees wouldn't even be the same.
I know what you mean.
Yes, they had to do it that way so you could actually find the fucking thing, but it's like that's not how that would work.
And I think one of them is decayed. It like has like structural damage in the same way.
I think those ones are like the ruins of ruins at the time. Whereas the one in the castle is different. You can see that, whereas like obviously that castle is completely fucked now. And like the fountain one. That one looks like the original fountain, not the ruin of the fountain.
The horse fountain.
Well, no, I thought
both
the horse fountain looked pretty much identical. Like, I didn't see it.
Yeah, the horse fountain is just sort of old in both cases.
Yeah.
Whereas the one out at the front of Hyrule Castle fountain, that one...
That has actually changed.
That looks nice. Right. The ceremonial plaza or whatever.
Isn't there one that has... Isn't there one of the photos? Doesn't that have the divine beast flying about? The Rito one.
I don't remember it being in the photo, but that could still be fine because they were flying around 100 years ago.
They were being used. Yeah, they were being piloted, weren't they, by the champions? Yeah.
So it's just the trees and foliage that doesn't work. It's like it's 100 years ago. You're telling me this shit hasn't grown or changed or fallen over?
It's really old tree.
And I feel like the whole memory image things, they could have done that like in a slightly more cool way.
Rather than the kind of
rather than just being a big glowing spot as
glow
you get
thing.
anywhere near it.
Yeah. Because it works really well when there are memories just in the story. And he's like, like a character turns around or something and he goes,
and he has a flashback.
Yeah, and he has a flashback. That works really well. But when it's just like walk up to a thing and press A or whichever button it is.
I don't know. I don't think I mind that. You can get locational recollection, can't you? It's like,
sure.
Oh, you can, yeah.
I meant more mechanically, where like it could have been cooler than just as soon as you get close, you see the giant glowing spot, and then you just walk up. Like if they actually made you find it and hold up the picture,
frame it.
Frame it or something.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I don't know. I think that glowing point shows up when you're near enough that I'm okay with it. It doesn't spawn from miles away. You do actually have to get quite close to it for it to show up.
The final secret memory is slightly better, I guess.
Oh, don't tell us that.
Well, yeah, it's still a picture, but it's not a photo. That's the trick. Makes it slightly more difficult.
Interesting.
Although you just take a picture of the picture and you take it with you, so it's functionally not really that different.
Okay. Interesting to know. I don't know where that would be.
No.
Right now. Okay.
I mean, they used that in one of the shrines as well, didn't they? Where there's that stable that has the dude has a painting on the wall. And you're like, just take a picture of that and then go and try and find that.
I think I've seen that.
It's the stable on the way up to Death Mountain.
Yeah. I can't remember. Honestly, at this point.
That's one of the good mechanics about Zelda, taking pictures of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
I was a bit annoyed when the one about finding Leviathan bones, and it's like the way that was worded. It was just like, go find Leviathan head. So you find one, and they're like, yeah, what about the other two? And you're like, sorry, what? I showed you a Leviathan head, and they're like, no, find the Hebrew one, and then find it.
They were having a discussion,
I know,
like a freeway argument.
Yeah,
and you were like, okay, obviously there's going to be three of these.
Well, I knew they were going to be free, but there's I don't know. There's an implication in the way it's worded that made me think it's like, I only need to find one of these. Like, there's three of them, but I only need to find one to satisfy the requirement. It's like, then when handed it in, it's like,
there's another two. Well, I found that ice one so far.
Oh, I've only found the really easy desert one.
The ice one was the hard one, essentially.
Oh, really? That's the only one I got.
Well, because it's
in that weird puzzle, yeah.
Not to go into any kind of spoiler around it, but the ice one is entirely underground.
Oh, no, they do say that. They did. Like one of the guys having a conversation do tell you that one's going to be in a cave.
Whereas, like the other two, you can fucking see on the map.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. Because I went up to that icy region or whatever. Is it Hebro or whatever? And like I found like 3 shrines, and they were all major tests of strength. I was like, oh god damn it!
Yeah. There's a lot of them on there. Slightly boring at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's just
I can kill them really quickly now.
Yeah.
I can basically if I put on the ancient armor and get a,
which I don't have because I'm money screwed at this point.
If you get the battle axe like that or whatever, the big weapon,
the plus.
The plus, but the the greatsword equivalent, which is like a big axe thing, and you eat a banana or two, then you can just sort of spin round and kill it in like no time, really.
Yeah, I don't have any of the ancient armor yet. It's too expensive. I've only just got the last.
Well, that was my main focus for a while.
It cost a lot of rupees.
Right. Oh, I haven't done that yet. I've only got 3 of them. I haven't got the last one.
The last one was worth megabucks.
Yep.
And so I spent all my money on that. Right. And then realized
only to not be able to upgrade anything to level 4.
Because getting like the dragon scales is a real pain in the arse.
Yeah, that's something I've never done yet. That's one of the most important.
I've only ever got like stuff off for Rosh. I haven't got stuff off anyone else, and it's like
right.
Like I haven't seen I don't see Dinral all that often, and when I do, he's in the wrong bloody place for me to do anything.
I think I'd
And
said
then-
this before on the cast, but I found Dinral's scale in a chest in the castle, so that's how I
Wait, what?
unlocked that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of each in Hyrule Castle.
Anyway, yeah. So I need to learn
Randomly
how
been to the
to.
castle.
Yeah, well, I just went to have a quick look one time. I didn't
Yes.
even get the shield or whatever. The Hyrule shield is in there in the basement somewhere.
Yep.
But I haven't done that either.
I don't know, I'm still a little bit afraid of like just wandering through bloody Guardian Field because like I hate going against the mobile Guardians when there's no cover about.
Yeah.
It's like those things are the worst.
Well, I didn't go up that way. I went from behind.
Yes, you just got into Hyrule Castle with any of the numerous ways that you can jip it
Yeah.
with the paraglider, or in fact
Yeah.
with a boat if
With
you
the
want to.
paraglider.
Yeah.
Although I guess in order to get to where the boat is, you still have to go through some Guardians.
I guess if I went back to it, which I can't because I can't. If I bought a Switch, I couldn't transfer my save from
No.
Zach's, so I need to borrow Zach's in order to finish it again. Still, like
Well, that's
I guess I
retarded,
have to-
isn't
I
it?
have to spend a ridiculous amount of money on ancient arrows or something, and then
The Guardians aren't really that difficult once you have the Master Sword.
Yeah, the Master Sword and the Ancient Armor, because the Ancient Armor gives you Guardian Resist, and then the Master Sword.
I've got like the Guardian Resist bit of jewelry you can get from
Yeah,
Garuda.
that
so
helps
it's-
too.
Yeah.
Right. Then it's not so bad. And obviously, ancient arrows can kill them instantly, can't they? Yeah, if you do it right. So
In the eye. But yeah, the Master Sword is all you really need is some amount of height so you can paraglide onto them before they spot you, and then
Yeah.
just instantly cull the legs off, and then you're done. That's it.
Mm.
They're
Yeah,
pretty much done at that point.
I've only just discovered you can cut the legs off. Yeah, that was that.
because that gives you more parts
that's
as
new.
well if you can do that.
Yeah,
Not
didn't-
very many, but it does.
I didn't realize that was a thing. That's only just.
Well, I mean-
only the last time I fought one was when I was.
It's like you don't really know until you start fighting them, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Zelda, I suppose.
Yeah, me
That's where
too.
I'm
I don't think I've done anything else on that apart from the Yiga clan hideout and stuff. Doing deserty stuff.
I hope they. All I'm saying is that I hope they add. But I'll probably end up with a Switch eventually. But it's like when they do, or when I do, I hope they've got save transfer sorted by then.
But you can probably, there might be an opportunity for you to finish this. I don't know. Maybe between a Splatfest, once I've had a significant amount of Splatoon.
Well, who knows? You might be done with Splatoon at some point.
Well, at some point, but
Yeah.
for a while at least. I'm sure there could be like a week or something where you can have it back.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so I focused on that while I had it. I think I've played as much Formula Fusion as I dare ever play. Because I got all the way up to the last level in elite class, and it was easy all the way up till that point, and then the very last event is impossible. Like the AI, it suddenly becomes lightning fast, able to do take turns that it seems impossible for you to,
Except for one turn for some
except for
reason.
one turn where it explodes every lap, which is quite funny. It's like a one-on-one race with the Beast, and I don't know how that's beatable. I honestly have no idea how that's beatable. And the last track in particular in that game is just so awkward and wiggly, and seems I just don't know how to take the turns tight enough with speed, and it has a loop-the-loop in it, which should be fine, except the tight is so narrow that you just end up grinding around the side of most of it, and it's like. Yeah, I guess I'm just not big on that game. It's like it was all right, but it just never quite did it for me in the way Wipeout does. So yeah, bit of a bummer overall, I think. I mean, I started to like some of its quirks. The Manhattan course is one of the more interesting ones. It's still quite fiddly and wiggly, but it's a bit more. It's a little bit more forgiving. You can learn that one. I feel I feel that's doable. Whereas Transatol, the last course, it's just a mess. Yeah, And I think that's the general feeling, I think, of the game overall, that you leave it and you just think, this is a bit of a mess. It hasn't come together. So that's a shame. Do you want a final review of that visual novel? Fault Milestone 1.
Well, the only real question is, how many twists did it have?
None.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it kind of was what you expected.
Yeah, but was what you expected a twist at least?
Was
it a really obvious twist that you knew was going to happen right from the start?
I'm struggling to remember. There was one. I do remember having one moment towards the end where I was like, "Oh, you know what? That actually came together." I had that thought where it's like, "Oh, this a sense was formed." I suppose.
A sense made.
Yeah. But it turned out to be something. I'd sort of blabbered on about how it seemed so utterly impressed with its own mechanical nature.
Did they try and get that paid off?
Yeah,
This is important, really, for real.
There is one detail, I think, in the mechanics that is only really used at the start of the game that then becomes the explanation for how things happened in this. In what the entire novel ends up being just a series of flashbacks, and it's like, or a story that once was that doesn't affect the current story. And there's a detail from that suddenly comes back at the end, and it's like, oh, okay, that like you've used your mechanics in a way that kind of makes sense. And then it cuts to what the real storyline should be, I guess, and then ends. And it's like, wait for Milestone 2, I guess, which I have.
Oh, good.
I mean, it picked up its pace at the end and had a surprising jump at one point where it just sort of the story just seemed to skip a beat. It felt like, but that didn't matter because I understood what was going on. So it's like, but like given the way it was presenting itself right up to that point, it was like, hey, wait, what? Okay, you've just moved ahead a little bit. That's fine. Maybe that was a glitch in the novel. I don't know. But I appreciated it. It was like, oh, you suddenly picked up. It did feel a little bit like watching an anime series in the sense that, that last episode, suddenly like the speed of everything suddenly just ramps up ridiculously from what the rest of the series has been. It's just like, here we go, resolution, bam.
Yes.
But I then went and investigated, like, not really knowing if this was like an example of having been my first one. Is like, did I start in a good representation of the visual novel genre? And went and looked up some opinions and reviews and stuff, and it's like, no, apparently this is not a good place to start. This is not a particularly well received.
Yeah, but I bet the people who write those kinds of reviews probably are quite picky.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. As I read a few, and yeah, there were definitely things that people liked about certain stories and certain didn't. That and then clearly some people did enjoy Fault, but for precisely the reasons that the other guys didn't like. But just from a pure like literature review standpoint, most of them still picked up. The dialogue is kind of bad. It's a little bit over. The over-explanatory nature of it all is a little much, and the reliance on flashbacks to basically tell a story that is sort of inconsequential to where the main plot felt like it should have been going. Yeah. Anyway, visual novel. There you go. I've done one. I've done a book.
Done a book on a screen with buttons to press
and a bit of music. That is the one thing I couldn't quite figure out. I kind of wanted to just press a button and have it just go, right, and just so I could just sort of watch the text. But the only option I found to do that just made it go, like just zip through it like ultra fast, and it's like, no, I
just write an auto hotkey script.
Yeah, I guess.
Button every 5 seconds.
I probably should have done. But then an auto mode I would have hoped would have like progressed like at the speed of the amount of text that was on the screen. Yeah, if it was done well. Otherwise, you are just pushing enter all the goddamn time, and it's like after a while my thumb gets tired. Like I don't know, really. Yeah, no, weirdly, because you're like sat there with a laptop and you're sitting in a position that you probably wouldn't do. Like you're trying to recline and just sort of be casual about this. You're not holding a controller or anything like that. It's like you're and I'm sort of mixing it up every now and then. It's like, right, I'm going to use the mouse button to do it for a while.
It's really annoying with books, isn't it? You constantly, you run out and you have to then actually physically like turn the page to the next one all the time. It's really annoying.
Yeah, but you're doing this like every sentence or every part of a sentence, right? It's like at least with a book, you're turning a page like every minute. Like this is like click, 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 click.
Oh yeah,
click,
okay.
Click. Like enter button, enter button, enter button. Oh, touchscreen. I can try that. Touchscreen, 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 touchscreen. You know, that was weirdly the most annoying thing about it was clicking through the text.
What a game. 10 out of
10. I did notice other reviews that picked up on the weird ellipses thing that I mentioned, you know, where it does it 3 times for some reason at the end of a scene. And it's like, why make us click through that 3 times? So there's that. What else have I been playing? I started playing Happy Snake Game, otherwise known as Snake Pass.
Oh, cool.
Which, you know, I'm a big fan of Sumo Digital. This looked like it's been well received, so let's give it a try.
You enjoying snaking around?
It's real interesting, this thing.
The movement, right? It's
kind of I kind of hate to use this description, but it's a bit quappy in that you're
quappy, yeah.
In that you're doing controller gymnastics just to get around.
I forgot about quap.
It's amazing. You're kind of having to do but you're basically driving your snake. Like you use the control stick to have his head point in the direction that you want to go, and then you use right trigger to make him go forwards, and then you can hold A to make him lift his head to try and help climb, or let it hang to sort of go down on I don't know, beams and things, like just hang over the edge and head downwards. But you also have left trigger to increase your grip, to try and like hold on to things,
squeeze onto things. Yeah.
But all of this works within the realms of a physics model, so it's as sometimes unpredictable as games physics models can be. Although it doesn't like spaz out or anything like that. But there are times where you're like holding grip and it's like, oh, I'm clearly slipping. This is not good. I need to try and deal with this. Or like, there's not quite enough. I can't lift my head quite high enough to somehow get this. Or like, I don't like the way that you move seems to be based on like, right, if your skin is touching a certain surfaces, then it allows you to have a certain amount of movement on that surface. And it's like sometimes you can like be butting up against the surface and it doesn't feel like you're getting movement from it.
Right.
It's like it's really hard to explain how it works, because it's like you can get a vertical pole, but you can't just climb a vertical pole. You have to, there has to be little ledges for you to sort of stop on and get some amount of purchase on. It's like you get all of your movement from horizontal edges more than you do vertical edges, or it's doing something like that. So it's forcing you to wrap around and stuff. But it sometimes feels like I just haven't been able to get the purchase on this for some reason, even though I wrapped around it, and it's like I'm just not getting motion out of it. And sometimes that physics can really screw you over, and it's like getting around. Like certain sections of that game take quite a while to get around, and then we'll have like a death jump or something, or not really a jump, but there's something. If you screw this up, you're going to go back like a long way, and you're going to have to do this whole section again, or you'll die, and you'll have to go back to the last checkpoint and do this whole section again. So it's one of those games, in some respects, which is quite frustrating. Like in the sense, I'm fighting physics, but because it's physicsy and has this really casual appearance, it sort of seems like it's not. I'm playing a game that looks like a different game.
Yeah, it's like really, friendly, inviting-looking visuals, but you're actually toughing it out with the physics model. And I'm like 6 levels in out of what I think will be 20, and it's already tricky. The actual, the main path is already tricky enough. Like the main line that you have to take, it's like no longer feels casual at this point, and it's which I suppose is good in one respect, but it's like this is the Happy Snake game. it's like, it's hard. It's hard.
I will go that far and say it's that. It's like, and maybe that's just my inability to do controller gymnastics, but I find it pretty tricky to play. But it's a good looking game. It's presented in that sort of throwback style of here's a level and here's all the things you've got to pick up in this level. With simple menus. The David Wise soundtrack feels very retro, but with like modern instruments. It's in a weird way, it's a very throwback game with a very physicsy modern control scheme, and it's really interesting. It's really good looking as well. Like I said, I really like the look of it. It's Unreal 4 powered, and it's got a large quantity of grass and a nice high quality depth of field and anti-aliasing going on. The way they've done the snake is quite clever because it's clearly. I don't even really know how to explain it. It's not like all the polygons move around because that wouldn't look smooth enough. It's like it's doing leave the polygons of the snake in place and modify them and move the texture along it.
Really?
Which you can sometimes. Which the only way I can see is when like the camera's up close and you can clearly see that the rings of Noodle the snake are sort of shifting a little as the shader sort of rebuilds the texture, I suppose, as it moves. Like they're like the rings aren't just like a straight like hard edge; they're like a nice sort of scaly edge. And as you move, sometimes you can see that scale sort of move about a bit, and
ripple a
the
little.
Color, for the color move about. So they've obviously used some sort of interesting technique for, modeling how the actual modeling the model as it moves. So it's a technically fascinating game. It's a mechanically fascinating game.
It's something different as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think my biggest problem is that I think the levels are way too long. I think they could have,
right?
Especially as the game's getting harder, I think they could have quite easily halved the length of the levels and split them up a bit. And as I say, I'm only 6 bloody levels in, and I'm already thinking that. I think I spent an hour on level 6 just trying to get through it, and you can't save mid-level, so you kind of have to commit to the run, as you say. And it's like, well, if you're doing it takes that long if you're trying to get everything in the level, right? If you're not trying to pick up all the collectibles, then you can do it a lot faster. Once you learn the route and stuff, you can do it in a matter of minutes in some cases. But that first run through a level where you're just trying to get every coin and every wisp on really difficult bits of bamboo with checkpoints some distance away, it can take a really long time to actually pull it off. And so I would have preferred shorter levels. I think, if especially given how heavy they go on the collectibles. Because I'm playing it hardcore. I'm getting everything as I go. So Snake Pass.
Cool.
It's a real interesting thing. Worth checking out. I think that might be me. I think that's. Oh well, my usual mucking about with emulators. I wanted to see if I could get Wipeout 3 running.
Yeah.
And you can, although it was a bit of a faff. I've had it working in EPSXE before, running directly off the disc, because that's one of EPSX, PlayStation emulators' tricks, is they can work just off the actual disc. But given that the disc, I think, is in the loft somewhere, or maybe in the box of the PlayStation 2 that Zach might have, I don't know.
I gave you that box back.
Oh, okay, it's in my loft then. I just couldn't be asked to go into the loft, so I downloaded an ISO rip of it, and it's actually getting that to work with the music was real tricky.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason, it doesn't like EPSXE, doesn't like playing what was I think Red Book Audio or CDDA, I think they call it. Just CD tracks basically. It has a hard time playing those back properly. Which I think would be quite an easy thing for it to do, but whatever. So yeah, that wasn't working for me. But I did find something called PCSX Reloaded that is a version of PCSX, but with a load of plugins already built in and some bug fixes and tweaks made by some other guy who had a go at it. And having mucked around with that and got a hold of some plugins for it and things like that, I can now at least get that working. And the music works, because playing Wipeout without the music is kind of most of the point of that game.
Kind of, yeah.
And it turns out that the actual sound effects are quite sparse. I didn't really realize.
If you're playing it without music, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it holds up. I mean, it's only running.
It does.
Like 25 frames per second, and it's somewhat basic, I suppose, compared to modern Wipeouts, but totally playable, totally enjoyable.
Cool.
Yeah. Still a pretty good game. And as I say, the Wipeout 3 Special Edition, which is the version I had, had quite a lot of throwback tracks from the first two Wipeout games in it as well that I'd totally forgotten were there. And it's like, oh yeah, this was actually quite a sizable Wipeout as well. Yeah, good game.
And all the awesome design stuff in that one.
Yeah, that was the one with the Designers Republic. So it's got the ridiculous grey menu and the font, the font and the little Japanese character that sort of always counts down every race with the lollipop hand action. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's there were certain details in it that I'd totally forgotten. I didn't realize they did the thing where they're which I think a lot of racing games tried to do at the time, where it's the seagulls on the track that fly away and things like that. And it's I didn't realize the PlayStation had games that did that. And then remembered that Ridge Racer Type 4 totally.
Yeah, that's definitely a Ridge Racer thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. Zach and I played Deadbolt for a video, so that will come.
Yep.
I won't talk any more about that.
No.
Look forward to that on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. Another Katamari video will have gone up shortly before this podcast gets published. We're carrying on with that.
No.
Tell me about Splatoon. Tell me everything.
Tell you everything? I don't think I need to tell you everything, do I?
No.
I can tell you 10% of it and then just be you already know the rest.
Well, me, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I've been playing that, I guess. Quite
a lot,
but not that much.
Quite a lot, but not that much.
Well, I haven't been playing the actual multiplayer very much.
Right.
I played the whole of the single player. Well, I say the whole of it. I played through the single player.
Mm.
If you want to play the whole of it, that's a lot more because it has the ability to complete every level with every weapon.
Which is a major change from the first one.
Yes. It's no longer unlocked by an amiibo or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. And, there's 10 goddamn weapons. So that's a lot of replaying the entire goddamn thing.
Mm.
There must be, I don't know, 20, 30 levels maybe. I don't know how many there actually are, but yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Replaying all of those with every weapon. I mean, it's fine. It's a lot of, it's not very much about shooting as with the rest of the game, I guess, but you're mostly just trying to work out how the fuck you get to a place and then...
That was kind of the same with the original, that it was sort of platforming challenges with a bit of shooting thrown in.
Yeah.
And it's, or ink manipulation or something like that. They do stuff with the world.
Well, yeah, basically every level has the thing the puzzle that level is all about, and then it gets used multiple ways throughout the level. It's here's the level where you first get introduced to sponges, so it's all about the sponges and various ways to climb up and ink up the sponges. Or here's the level where it's just about grinding, so it's all rails.
Do they reuse concepts?
Yeah, but not, they don't make a whole nother level with just in one those are the essentially tutorials for that concept, I guess.
Right. So they might be in other levels, but the level you're in won't be about that concept again.
No, but it will be about a different concept, but those elements will appear occasionally.
Mm.
I mean, mainly things like the rails, of course, because
because
throw a rail in occasionally, it's fine.
Yeah, rails are fun.
And yeah, getting through that was not too difficult. I don't know if the bosses were as good as they were in the first game. I mean, I hadn't actually played the first game, so I don't necessarily know.
They were relatively simple. They were like kind of cool spectacles, but they weren't too tricky.
I feel like there was a couple of them that didn't lean heavy enough on the actual transversal thing, which was the whole point. Traversal. Because, the first boss, I guess it must have been maybe the third boss. They reused the first boss from the first game, the cube.
Oh, right.
Except it's been upgraded or whatever, so it's like the harder version of the cube.
The cube.
But the first boss of this game is essentially the same as that. It's the same concept. The thing does an attack pattern and then sits there for a minute while you ink it and climb up it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how all the bosses were. There's something like that in all of them.
But now there's a couple that aren't really like that, and it's like I wish they were, because that's the thing about this game. It's not just shooting things. There's a couple of bosses that are pretty much just shooting them.
Right. Yeah, because there are ones that are created different pools, and you have to navigate through the ink pools and do that stuff like that. And not all of them were about climbing in the original, but they all use a sort of inky mechanic in some way.
Yeah, I mean, there's one. I think it's the second boss, where it's the first. I don't know if it's the first. I think it's the first time you get the roller, but you do get the roller shortly before that, if not in that one. But it's like. He has a roller too, and then you just have a fight.
No.
And then, he has a set of moves, and his attack patterns get more complicated after each time you hit him. And standard procedure.
Do you get the random levels where they throw in other? They're not inklings, are they? But they throw in octolings.
Yeah, that's the last level of each set. Is where it's just a multiplayer map, but with slightly different geometry.
Yeah,
we just threw in a few different obstacles onto this multiplayer map that already exists
to force you down a path,
and then you just go and shoot the enemies.
Yeah,
and they suck.
Yeah, they did that in the original as well.
That's why there's no bots in this game, because apparently they can't program AI.
Yeah.
And also, just like in the actual multiplayer, they're quite easy to spawn camp, because as soon as you come up to the next area, one of them's going to spawn, but they still have they don't come all the way from their spawn, they come out of ink usually, but they still have the jump marker. So it's oh, look, if I get there quick enough, I'll just shoot where you're about to be, and then you'll just die immediately.
Oh, but I kind of like that, because again, that's a sort of tutorial from the multiplayer, an aspect in the multiplayer.
Yes.
Anyway. It's like they're being consistent about their rules, which I like.
But yeah, so I got through all of that. And then I guess it's kind of like the last boss. There's just there's a whole section where it's just on a rail. You're just grinding, and I'm like, that seems kind of like a classic maneuver to have the rail segment, sort of Sonic-esque in some ways.
This last boss, quite epic, because it was fairly epic in the first one.
It's fairly epic, but it's not really. There's not much to it. It's just it pretty much only has one. Well, it has one attack that you can counter, which is how you damage it. And all the other attacks are pretty much inconsequential. You're only waiting for that attack to happen, and everything else is really easy to dodge.
Right, because that sounds somewhat similar. Because in the first one, it applied a lot of attacks, but there came points in the level where it would make the level trickier. So actually, avoiding his attacks would get harder and harder.
Yeah, there isn't really any of that. It's pretty much just a straight fight. There's not really any elements to the level except for the bit where you're on a rail. But then that actually almost makes it easier, because it's going to shoot directly at where you're going to be on the rail, so you just have to time your jump to avoid the one attack that it's hitting you with, and then shoot the other attack. Not too complicated. So yeah, there's that. I'll probably end up playing some more of it with going through the gun runs.
Yeah, see if there must be stuff to get out of.
Well, apparently there is.
Yeah. But
also the other thing you get out of just going through it on the first time through is you can get some of the food bonus item tickets for the XP up and the money up.
Yes, talk to me about because food is new.
Well, it's just temporary buffs. I mean, the food, the money and XP ones are the main ones.
Like coin doublers.
Yeah, essentially.
Right.
And yeah, you get some of those through finding the secret areas of the single player levels, I guess. I mean, there are a couple of secret things that you get in the single player. One of them's to upgrade the weapons, and the other one's like lore. Gotta have your little lore booklet.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because that was kind of cool in the. I think it was presented a bit like, you know how they do the thing in the adverts and the marketing leading up to Splatoon 2, like the Squid Research Lab, like looking at it like a different thing. I think the collectibles in Splatoon 1 were basically like snippets that someone were putting together into a scrapbook about like the history of the squids.
Yeah,
and,
it's kind of like that, except in this one it's a bit more like not so focused. It's more like every page is just its own little thing. Like here's the page about like Marina, and here's the page about Judd, and here's the page around. It's like each thing has its own individual page. It's not so much like a whole series that goes together in any logical way.
Yeah, because it let you find. There was something about weapon blueprint. I think actually you had you unlock weapon sets by finding blueprints. Like on some of the pages as well.
Yeah. You don't really unlock anything. You don't really unlock anything for those two collectibles. I mean, the weapon upgrades is the weapon upgrades. And that obviously those only apply to single player, so they're not any, and they don't go outside of the single player.
Right.
And then the lore page is just lore, but there are those tickets occasionally hidden throughout, but they're not as obvious because they're not recorded like the other two collectibles are. Like in your list of levels, you can see whether you've got those two collectibles.
I see.
But the tickets aren't.
So you can't tell if a level still has them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get those and then you go and buy the upgrade food. And then there's the other type of upgrade food, which lets you apparently theoretically improve the chances of getting a specific ability at the end of a match when your gear upgrades. Which, I guess that's sort of useful if you want to. But I'm not at the point where that matters because I'm not even at 3-star clothing yet, so I don't. It's basically irrelevant at this point. I'm just like, whatever upgrades happen.
Yeah.
Don't actually care.
But then there's this weird system you were trying to explain to me about. Now you can now muck about with the ability slots and get rid of the slots and like scrub them, and then you get chunks that you can then put in other things.
I think it still has some of the stuff from the first game. Like you can still I think you can still add slots to ones that don't have full slots.
That costs sea snails. Before.
So that's going to be once that actually starts. Once we actually get to a Splatfest. There's that, and there's also, I think it implies that you can re-roll the main ability through the same thing. So that's going to be also sea snails, I presume.
Yeah, I don't know if that was possible in the original. I think the main ability was always the main ability, and it was tied to the gear.
Yeah. But the apparently new thing is that you can just erase all the upgrade that you normally all the upgrades that you usually unlock from leveling up the gear. Those slots you can just erase, but when you erase them, you get ability chunks of that ability, and then if you have 10 or sometimes more of a type of chunk, you can use that to put a specific ability into a slot. So in theory, you don't have to rely on randomness, or you don't even have to rely on the food with the percentage, like the improved chance of getting the right ability.
Sure.
If you wanted to, you could grind out enough chunks to be able to just put the abilities you want when you want onto the piece of clothing you want.
The only thing you actually have to rely on is your time.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
And you can get the ability chunks a few other ways, like Salmon Run rewards will occasionally give you ability chunks.
Salmon Run seems a bit manic.
Yep, Salmon Run is like pretty fucking crazy. It starts off pretty easy, but it gets bloody difficult. So that's, I guess it doesn't start off that easy. It starts off pretty hard, but it gets really hard.
But yeah, and it's interesting because it's like the difficulty is leveled like your ranking. So it's like as your character ranks up, you get harder.
Well, basically, you start at 90% pay grade, and then every time you win, it goes up 5%. And if you lose in the first 2 waves, it goes down 5%. But if you lose in the third wave, it stays the same.
Okay.
So you can maintain if you don't completely fuck up.
Yeah, it's just an interesting way of doing it because most like horde modes or something like that, they either like just have this is a flat difficulty and it just gets harder over time.
Well, I guess they wanted to come up with a way to make it automatic so they could have random lobbies.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it locally in the local multiplayer area, you can set the difficulty before you start the match, so you can just choose how hard you want it to be.
Right. Okay. So if you're playing, play with friends or custom lobby or something like that?
I think it's only in the local. Well, actually, I don't know if the online friends would let you do it, but the local lobby system lets you do it. So yeah, you can set it in there in case you want to make it hard by default.
I guess, would you gain the rewards from like local matches?
Yeah, I don't know how that
does that just count as exploitable? So they're like, no, you're just playing for fun.
Yeah, I assume you probably don't get the actual rewards. You might get some kind of rewards, but maybe not the full.
Yeah, maybe just money or something.
Because the way the rewards actually work is slightly different too. Because it's the whole stamina thing is weird because it's on a time limit. You can't just play it whenever. You can only play it during specific times. It's not even like the multiplayer maps where it rotates. It's like you totally can't do it at all at certain times.
Yeah, that is odd.
But considering the ridiculous amount of rewards you can get, in some ways that's a balance to it, I suppose. And I think the actual reason they put the time limit on it is because there's only 2 maps.
Right.
So you probably get bored of that pretty quickly if you didn't have this limited factor and the fact that you want the rewards, so you have to turn up to get those rewards.
I know Ninty have been. I guess this is all like part of Ninty just being a little bit paranoid about splitting the audience too much and having not enough players to run a mode, for instance.
But I think they maybe underestimated how much people wanted a horde mode.
Yeah.
Turns out people quite like horde modes.
Yeah. Horde mode.
Yeah, the horde mode. So I played that a lot. You get a t-shirt. It has free slots. It's a good way to get an early free slot t-shirt. And you can get that t-shirt that's the one reward that always repeats. Like when you go through you have basically there's two like repeating loops of rewards that you do in a row. It's like 600 points to the first major reward and then another 600 to get that set again. And the t-shirt appears twice in there. But then once you've gone past that 1200 point limit, the only thing you get is just the t-shirt over and over.
Right.
So you can grind that t-shirt as much as you want, and that's how you can get extra ability chunks, because you can't have duplicates. So when you get other versions of that t-shirt, you just trade it out either for cash if it doesn't have any abilities, or ability chunks if it does have abilities in the slots.
See, I thought the original allowed you, maybe that's a change, because I thought the original allowed you to have duplicates, so you could, as its way of like, instead of re-rolling the items on your gear, you could actually just
buy it again and level it up again.
Buy the gear again, yeah.
Maybe they got rid of that because of this new system.
Yeah,
I guess.
possibly. Yeah,
sort of makes sense.
Add a bit of risk to it, I suppose, because if you're just buying new gear and going and leveling it up again, there's no real risk.
Well, and yeah, if you're working on the randomness where it's just like, I want to preserve this fairly good set, but what if I can get a better set by doing it again?
Yeah.
Whereas now you can just make a better set.
Yeah.
So yeah, Salmon Run is fairly crazy and it gets real hard. And out of the 2 levels, I think, well, the other thing that's weird about it is they set the weapons. So you get given 4 weapons between your 4 players, and each player gets a different weapon, and between each of the 3 waves, you get one of the other weapons. So you cycle through 3 out of the 4 weapons.
I think that's real interesting. I think that's a way of getting a bit more life out of it, because that changes periodically.
Yeah, and it makes it more or less difficult as well.
Yeah, and also means your team composition is spread as well, rather than everyone just rolling in with rollers. Yeah,
and screw you or something.
Which is what happens in the multiplayer.
Yep, pretty much. But then the other like slightly strange thing about the 2 maps. These 2 maps is like, I think one of them is way harder than the other. I'm not entirely certain that wasn't just because of the weapon set. Like maybe the weapons just didn't work that one time. But like one of the levels has much more of a choke pointy kind of design. Whereas like the center of the map is kind of a raised slope, so that kind of naturally creates a choke point at the bottom of the slope. Whereas the other map is pretty much just a square and anything can come from anywhere. And I think that level's much harder. But it's like, I'm not entirely certain that wasn't just because of the weapon selection.
Right.
Although the first time I played that square level, the weapon selection was all the machine guns, and you'd think that would be the easiest weapon selection. Just all the different variations of the just regular guns. No rollers, no snipers, none of that stuff. You'd think that would be the easiest, but apparently it wasn't. But then again, as I said, that might just be the level. Maybe when you do get rollers on the level, it's even fucking harder. Who knows? So there's that. And yeah, I didn't really play that much of the multiplayer. I only made it like level 12, 11, something like that. And I've only been using the starting gun because I've been doing really well with the starting gun. I was just like, well, fuck all these other guns, I guess.
I think you have
What's
to
that?
hit.
Just a machine gun type thing?
More like an SMG, I guess.
Yeah, but they
I'd call
specifically
it.
make it look a bit like a toy gun, the starting
Well,
one.
it's just a box.
Yeah, it's the same starting gun you got from the original, but it looks like, the one you started with, it looks a bit like a toy. It's quite funny. Like even more so than the Super Soaker guns you get later.
Yeah. I have been considering changing to the gun that's like the real gun version of that gun.
Right, yeah. That wasn't the first proper
Yeah, the
splat
first
rifle,
actual
yeah.
Well, no, not the rifle. The first, like, more like SMG styled rifle,
Okay.
where it's like more spread but faster fire or
Oh, I
whatever.
forget what and shorter range. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I used to play that way, like just maximum, like
Although,
just as many bullets as possible in the shortest space of time.
in some ways, I kind of also maybe don't want to use that gun just because it's a fucking zapper. God damn it, Nintendo! Stop doing that.
Well, that was in the first game as well, but yeah, and I've heard the zapper is actually relatively underpowered, and they had to balance that out recently. But yeah,
But it's just like, you need to quit making that reference. No one even remembers the zapper.
everyone remembers the zapper. I saw a video of people playing a duck hunt game that they had built in Halo 5.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
It's like, clearly what you want is you want the Super Scope. That's the proper Nintendo gun reference.
They could make
Yeah.
a charger that's got the Super Scope, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I haven't changed weapon, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's like, I'll still get 2,000 points of coverage, and there was one game where I got 16 kills,
Nice.
which was fairly ridiculous. Not even sure how I did that with that regular ass gun.
Is the because I've seen the umbrella, but I've only seen it in single player.
Yeah, I'm not sure that does appear in multiplayer.
Okay, maybe they're still working on balancing it, and it'll come later. But
Well, the trouble with it, it's basically a shotgun functionally in terms of the gun part, but it also has the weird, like, fires off the umbrella bit. But that's not really a weapon, I don't think. And also, you know, you can shield yourself with the umbrella, I guess. Is the other half of that gun. But, like, I'm not sure that would really be any use in multiplayer. Or not the firing off the umbrella part bit. That seems entirely pointless for multiplayer. Because it doesn't really attack. It does sort of a little bit, but not really.
yeah, maybe they'd have to think about how they would do that.
So yeah, I'm not sure that's going to make it. But
Okay.
everything else.
Because other than splat doolies, I don't think there's any actual new weapon types.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only one.
So we've got your buckets and brushes and splatling cannons.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not sure how many multiplayer levels there actually are, but it still doesn't seem many.
I've heard there's like 8, I think, which I think is still more than Splatoon 1 launched with,
Sure.
but it's not as much as what Splatoon 1 ended up with.
Yeah.
So I would expect the same sort of release pattern.
Well, my question now is, like, if it goes with, if we assume that it makes the exact same release pattern, like the same period between releases,
Same cadence.
some of them's going to have to be 7-run maps, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But then, like, does that feel like worse in some way?
Because it's not the core game.
Well, because it's now you are having to split your upgrades between 2 separate modes. You're not reusing the same map like in ranked or whatever.
Yeah, but ranked got updates of its own as well, because they added
modes.
They added more modes
Yeah.
to ranked over the lifespan. And it's I think all of those have made a return. I don't think there's any ranked matches that have been left out from what I've heard. Not that I guess you're there yet. I think it's level 20 barrier for ranked.
I think it's only 10 for regular ranked.
Oh, okay. So you've probably got that then.
Yeah, but I haven't done that because I haven't played enough regular. Want to get maybe start using some other guns. Maybe think about my loadout or whatever before going into actual ranked.
Seems like a good looking game too.
Yeah.
It seems to run very well on the. I've only seen it on your little Switch screen, but it looks the part.
I didn't think I'd find it as jarring as I did, but it is really noticeable that the hub zone runs at 30 and everything else runs at 60. I didn't think I would notice it that much, but you really do.
It was a big deal in the first game as well. I can sort of know why they do it, so they can load more assets in and have a busier environment for the hub.
Yeah, but is it really that many more assets than like a multiplayer level where it's 8 on 8 and you still not got the whole level to render?
4 and 4. And,
I mean, yeah.
And it's having to load in all the Miiverse stuff, so...
Come on, that's an image.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be that difficult.
I guess more... There's more character models because it's having to look, not necessarily the squids and stuff, but it's having to load on the NPC models.
Well, they have NPCs in the multiplayer levels as well. They're just not really in the level.
But yeah, probably rendered not as well because they're not that close, are they?
Sometimes they're right on the other side of the glass pane. Yeah, it seems strange, especially because apparently they use traditional scaling tricks where effects turn on and off or whatever to keep it running at 60.
Yeah. And there's like resolution scaling going on if you've got it. I think that only kicks in if you've got it docked. I think if you're running it in the portable mode, it like just maintains 720, but like goes up to 900 or something if you're running it.
But you would still think they could have done that for the lobby as well. I mean, like, why is this one?
Yeah, maybe.
Why is this one specific place so bad? And then if you even like think about the horde mode, how many things there are going on there? That's a goddamn huge amount of action. That's the one place where I did notice effects turning off, but it's only on like the golden eggs that come out of the enemies. If there's enough of those in the level at one time, like the glow effect stops.
Right.
That's the only effect that I've specifically noticed turning off. And that was so weird that I almost didn't think that was like intentional. I thought it was like a bug, like it overloaded the effects or whatever, because there were so many of them.
The purple pack was on screen.
Yeah.
And leaving an endless trail.
Yeah, exactly.
Needed clearing up.
So yeah, that. Splatfest, first one's coming up. Some first weekend of August, I think.
It's normally only a week away from when they take the vote, so...
Yeah, should be about to. And then I'll find out what the actual... what else the snails might be used for this time.
Yeah.
If anything.
See snail.
As far as I can tell, it's still only that one thing.
What team were you? You're Team Ketchup, aren't you?
Yes.
Team Ketchup versus Mayonnaise.
Yep. Don't want no mayonnaise.
I'd be Team Mayonnaise all the way.
I mean, it's not like I don't like mayonnaise, it's just ketchup is more useful in general.
I'm not sure I'd agree with that. I use mayonnaise on way more things.
And also...
More sandwiches, I suppose.
I mean, obviously, the actual problem with Splatfest is the secret voting is which one of the squid women do you care more about? That's the secret Splatfest voting angle.
I guess. Well, especially after they explicitly used it as the last Splatfest for the last game.
Yeah.
Well.
Like, they know. I mean, it seems like they've almost screwed that up in this game where they've made them too different. Like, in the first game, they were quite similar.
Twin sisters.
Yeah, exactly. But now they're actually quite different, like, personality-wise and design-wise. It's like, oh, you fucked up your Splatfest because you've given this a personality aspect. It's like actual politics. So there's that.
Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have watched you play it. That's all.
Yep.
Oh, that's got my hype right up.
I mean, I guess we don't need to discuss the voice chat situation because I'm not going to use it, and who cares?
I mean, if we both ended up with a Switch and we wanted to play it again, we'd use a PC and use TeamSpeak or something.
Just use TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
And I mean, who really uses voice chat on a console, even any console? I mean, you turn it off.
Well, I guess. I did used to play Halo 5 with the voice chat on, because most people that I came across playing Halo 5 were actually pretty good guys, you could get into a good crowd.
It's like very early on in Rocket League, I just turned off voice chat because, especially in Rocket League where you just have the quick chat and that's really all you need for tactical information or whatever.
And the people who nobody talks other than to smack in Rocket League.
Yeah. So and then they can still do that through the quick chat as well.
What a save.
And there was there was a time in Rocket League where I distinctly considered the other option that Rocket League has of turning off regular tags, so only quick chat.
I gotta admit, I did consider that as well.
But I do, sometimes I just like to see when people are angry and be like, you're angry, you suck.
Well, you have the advantage of that you're frequently quite good at multiplayer games in the sense where people think you're cheating a lot, and seeing them.
That's only in Team Fortress.
I know.
I don't think anyone thinks anyone's cheating in Rocket League.
No. But when that does happen, like the assault flies, that is kind of fun when it's flying at you for being good. But
I don't know. I find when
you get the odd player that's like the worst one is when you get a player who is obviously rubbish, but is also very vocal about your team being rubbish. Yeah, so it's just like, shut up, mate.
Well, that's why I want.
We might just be getting outplayed. Have you considered that? Yeah.
I want to see it so that I can look at the whole situation.
I really don't care.
Well, it's like you. In some ways, you want to know when people are bitching, because then you have the reason why they suddenly decide to stop playing.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You want to know why they've decided to be a whiny punk and stop playing. You have to see the whining in order to know that. And I've been seeing that again as I've gone higher up the rankings in Rocket League. I've got to the middle of Diamond, and suddenly people are whining again. It seems to be like a precise threshold where that happens.
Oh, I don't know. I think I see it at every level.
I don't think I see it as bad. And once I got into Diamond, it came to the point where not only were they whining, but it was also the people who would stop playing, and really early on. It's just like, oh, you made one mistake, so I'm not going to play the entire rest of this game, and I'm just going to sit here because fuck you, and I'm not even going to vote to forfeit. I'm just going to sit here. Oh. It's like, this is dumb. Why would you do that?
That's quite annoying. The ultimate troll. That's report territory.
Well,
me,
yeah,
I think.
obviously.
That's
always do that. There have been a couple of times where there was one game that I played last night where that happened on the enemy team. One of their guys got pissed off because they made a couple of mistakes, and it was 2-0 down after a minute, and he started not playing, and then the other two people on their team scored twice, and then he started playing again. And it was like, wow. Well, why didn't you just continue playing the whole time, and then you could have made this comeback a lot easier?
Huh.
Goddamn babies.
Yeah. It's just multiplayer though.
Yep.
It is frustrating.
I'm still don't.
It's true of most games, and actually, Splatoon dodges that bullet by basically having zero communication.
Well, yeah, that's why no one cares about the voice chat, because it's a good thing, as it turns out. Although it does kind of suck where, at the end of a game of Splatoon, you're we got completely trashed, and then on the scoreboard, you're oh, that guy had 0 points, which means he was either AFK or he disconnected, and then it didn't properly remove him from the scoreboard or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's just that would have been nice to know while we were getting killed rather than right at the end, and you were just pissed at your teammates because you thought that they sucked, but there was actually a reason.
Yeah. You were a player down for most of it. Yeah, it was quite one. I think I remember talking about it at the time that was one of the more pleasant things about Splatoon. Was just
you don't have to listen to people.
Exactly. Any toxicity that's there is just not apparent because you can't. There's no way of communicating it.
Yep.
I do think it's a slight bummer that they didn't improve the lobby system in that game, so you still have to back all the way out to change your gear, and there's no way of coordinating, like seeing what your team has and then picking your weapon loadout to match.
Sure.
I think that's real stupid that they didn't improve that. But then I guess in a weird way, now that they're sort of doing that in Salmon Run, where it's just like, oh yeah, here's the weapon set, good luck. It's like, in a weird way, that was kind of the part of the variety of it at the same time. It's like, right, what have we been landed with? 4 rollers. Oh goody, this is going to be a challenge.
Like, yeah, the lobby doesn't even make teams in the lobby. Like, it just has a list of 8 players.
Yeah, I think
doesn't even split them in 2, apart from for the Splatfest.
I think it always did that, unless you played ranked. I think it did that for Turf War. Anyway.
So it's like you wouldn't even be able to see the weapon loadout because you wouldn't be able to know who was on your team anyway.
Well, it never showed you what the weapons were on that screen anyway.
No, sure.
So you don't know until you actually get in the match. Good to know that it's still good, though.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously I played Rocket League, as we previously talked about.
Yep. Covered that.
I played some more Minecraft, fucking around with the Sky Factory thing again. Although actually I started over.
Of course.
Well, I started over because I decided that this mod was too ridiculous. This mod pack was too ridiculous. And I was like, what I'm going to do is, now that I know what's going on, I'm just going to go through and trim all the bullshit mods and make this much faster to load and run better.
Like 100 of the 130.
I don't think I took out that. I probably only took out like 40 or something.
Jeez.
But there was a couple of mods in there which you just get rid of by default, where it's just like the decoration mods, stuff that I don't care about. I'm only interested in mechanics. I'm not interested in this fancy-looking chair or any of that stuff. So get rid of any decoration mods, obviously. So yeah, it runs much better, or loads much better. I guess it doesn't necessarily run better. I haven't built as much stuff yet, so I don't know whether it runs better.
It's just dawned on me. I think we're going to have a real food problem.
Yeah, I think we probably are going to have
I think a lot of places are now closing.
Which means we should probably hurry up and end this podcast, which is probably due, isn't it?
I have no idea. I haven't been looking.
Well, you turn around. Turn 270 degrees.
Turn out of my comfortable chair position. Yes, we are overrunning.
Dan, do you have anything to say apart from that bit about Zelda that we already talked about?
No, it was all Zelda. So,
okay, good.
So we are done. Except that I might have to get Splatoon. Yeah.
Really?
Sweet.
We'll catch you next time in a couple of weeks.
Well, no, I'm interested in that. What pushed you over the edge, Dan? Sorry.
We've got, what is it? Katamari Damacy video coming on
no.
next. Oh, that's already up. And then
that's already up. That went up today, but that will be a few days prior, or a day prior to this podcast being made. So.
And there's more to come. So enjoy that, and we'll catch you next time.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Podcast.